Yes.
Hello, Hockey World. How are you today? What's up? Anything new? Anything happening?
Eh,
Nah,
nothing. No business. Nothing.
nothing going down yet. No, actually, tons happening. Welcome to the HockeyBuzz cast. This is my office as opposed to my studio. So the reason we're in here today is I've just got computers everywhere in this room, and I've got screens I can look at and all sorts of things. So we're going to do it from here today, just because, and I don't quite have the backdrop, but I do have the Stanley Cup and the appropriate clock, which I think is working. Is it? It's not working.
Yeah, that's right.
No,
No,
it's not working.
it's not working.
And if you have a date thing, it's probably not working either.
Hold on. Oh, wait. I think it's working now.
Well, you still have to set it. It's 11:21. You want to give it a chance?
21. Damn it. I just lost. What did you guys do with your extra second last night?
Who knows? I slept through it.
All right, there we go. 11:21. So that clock will keep you updated as to what's happening today. And as far as time goes, of course, and nothing else. The clock doesn't know anything besides that.
You
So
know,
neither do we. It's okay.
the secondhand stuttering, that clock's broken. Just so you know.
Yep.
What?
It's going backwards. That's
Let's
kinda
see if
crazy.
it actually keeps time despite the second hand not moving. I have a theory it will.
Okay.
We'll find out. Anyway, yeah, we are live. The frenzy starts in, well, depending on what clock you
38
look at,
minutes.
38 minutes. Yeah, so we're gonna be covering everything. We have a cast of characters coming in today like you wouldn't believe, and we got so
Who's
much to
that,
talk
by the
about
way?
already today. And we're not going to get into Mike Richards today because that's pointless. But let's get into first thing we have to discuss briefly for a second is the Brandon Saad trade.
Whew.
Which, yeah, and then the subsequent Anisimov signing today.
What were the numbers on Anisimov? I didn't see those.
4.55 a year for 5 years.
Really?
That's good. I'm happy for him.
All right.
No,
Well-
I'm happy for him too, but don't we think that how much was Saad going to cost them?
6.5. That was the rumor.
All right, so we're looking at $2 million less, right?
Right.
Yeah. Which in these days, that's a lot.
No, it is a lot, but
When's the
Brandon
next
Saad.
lockout? When's the CBA run out?
What's that?
When's the next lockout? Because these salaries are headed right to it.
Well, see, this is
Got like 8 more years, so don't worry about it.
the
Okay,
thing.
good.
This is the thing. They get Anisimov, who probably is a good number 3 center.
Right.
They use Taravainen as their number 2. Taves obviously is their number 1. No, they could move Anisimov. I don't know if Anisimov can play the wing or if he's more. I thought if he's more center. Maybe Taravainen moves to the wing then, because then they have Marco Dano, who I think is a
I like
pretty
Marco
good
Dano.
prospect. And I understand.
Let's not overrate Marco Dano. Somebody on my page last night, I said, he's a nice 45 to 50-point scorer, and he's like, oh, I think he's better than that. It's like, listen, 60 points in the NHL is really hard to get to right now.
Absolutely.
So 45 points is probably right. I think the real issue here is that when you lose one big star and you sort of get these other players to fill in, you're not really helping yourself in the long run. You're just filling holes. And I think, unfortunately, that's what happens in the cap era.
Yeah, I don't think that this was it was shocking that Saad got traded because it sounded like everything was pointing to them moving Sharp, moving Bickle, signing Saad long term. But from what it came out yesterday, Saad was asking for a lot more than they ever thought he was going to ask for, and it got.
He's an effective player. He's won cups.
Right. He's won.
Yeah, he's going to be a top 6 player on the USA team in next summer when we're talking about it. He's don't you agree, Russ?
Yeah, he's a big-time player. There's not that many players that get dirty like him, could score those kinds of goals. And so that's what I'm saying. I think Chicago sort of filled other depth spots on their team, but they're never going to be able to replace his role. That's going to be a big hole.
Well, the first time they won the Cup, they lost Ladd, they lost Bufflin, but their core of Kane, Taves, and Keith stayed intact. So maybe at this point they view it as long as we keep those guys intact, we can fill in holes around it. look, I love Brendan Saad too, and I guess the Chicago said, okay, maybe they knew there was an offer sheet coming too, and this deal would be better than what the offer sheet would be. So I don't know.
There's never been so much fear of offer sheets.
Yes, you're right.
Considering nobody's putting them out, yeah.
Right, considering they never happen, quote unquote, right?
See, the thing is, it's not the fear of the offer sheet per se in the sense that the other team is going to get the player. It's the fear of the offer sheet because the other team is going to match in the situation that it puts them in. I mean, if Boston...
Think about this. Like with the Rangers, they were afraid of just letting Hagelin go to an arbitrator. They still had a year of service out of him, and they figured, if he gets to this number, we can't afford it, then he's just going to walk because we can't pay him, and then we're not going to get anything for him. That's kind of crazy where we are right now.
It really is. It really is. And your general manager now has to build a team, but he also has to build a manageable team that can work under the cap. Every contract has to be put under the microscope, and you cannot overpay a player you like anymore. You can't overpay it. You have to draw a line in the sand, and if they surpass that, you got to move it for other assets and cheaper assets.
You do.
We have our first Twitter fight of the day, by the way.
Yes, I'm not involved.
It's a good one. It's between Bob McKenzie and I'm reading like this because this is my desk is over here. This probably is the most awkward way I could sit.
Bob McKenzie and who?
Bob McKenzie and Pierre LeBrun. All right, it's a good one.
Really?
What?
All right, so
that's a heavyweight fight.
Pierre LeBrun, 27 minutes ago. The Sharks' #1 target is Phil Martin. Sorry, Phil Martin. But there's been lots and lots.
Paul Martin.
I'm losing my mind. The #1 target is Paul Martin. There's been a lot of interest in our other teams, of course, other things going on. Just now, or no, actually 9 minutes ago, so that was 18 minutes after that. So San Jose is believing to be the leading contender for Paul Martin, and then 5 minutes ago from Bob McKenzie, 4 minutes after that tweet, things change fast on UFA Day. Now hearing San Jose is no longer a top contender for Paul Martin.
Well, that's not a fight. That's just conflicting information.
I know, but it's not a fight.
A fight. This is an indirect fight. A fight is I
know.
Well-respected guy from Sportsnet saying yesterday that there's interest from Pittsburgh in Phil Kessel, and that the deal makes sense. And then somebody from TSN coming out and saying, well, the Leafs want to keep Phil Kessel now because Mike Babcock wants a chance to coach him, and he doesn't think there are things close between them and Pittsburgh. I mean, sometimes I believe that these guys don't know what they're talking about.
See, that's why I'm wearing my Bruce Lee shirt today. It's going to protect me from Twitter fights. No one's going to fight Bruce Lee.
Should we play some Kung Fu fighting?
No, that's David Carradine. That's the meaning to Bruce Lee.
I've long tried to say that they should call this a twisting match. that's my term. But I don't get involved in these. But and it wasn't really a fight. I guess that's true.
It was just like my information is better than yours. Wait, I'm updated. Wait, I can update you. That's all.
What it does show is how quickly things change on UFA Day, and Bob McKenzie, who everyone will admit is by far the most connected person in hockey.
Right.
Just changed himself within 5 minutes from a top contender to not being in on him. So things change, and that's just how this goes. I have heard a really interesting one I'll throw out there today, as far as like the long shot trade of the rumor of the day, and this involves Winnipeg and Chicago. Ooh. And the deal would be that Corey Crawford would be sent to Winnipeg. And as it's bizarre, and I've been looking at it for about a week now, and one of those trades I'm like, I don't think so. It doesn't make any sense. And then today, again, picking up steam with Corey Crawford, possibly, and then finally today, a really good source recently just telling me that, there's a definite possibility there, that it's absolutely being discussed.
For what?
Pavlik would be involved in the trade.
I sign off right there if I'm Stan.
Yeah, I'm done.
There's got to be more obvious. There's obviously more than this involved, but that's the only thing I know. The one goalie would go back. I have heard the Flyers have interest in Hutchinson too, out of Winnipeg. That's been something that has been going on, and the Flyers will get a goalie today. Maybe Michael Neuvirth too. That's another goalie.
That's been out. That's been out there, and that makes a bit of sense. I wonder if we're gonna see in spite of the fact that he was an impact player for them and played very well at times, whether we see Dustin Byfuglien moved in the next few days with the 1 year left before.
It is possible, I was told. I mean, I think it's pretty common knowledge that although Byfuglien is loved by Winnipeg and the players in that room, I don't think he's definitively said he wants to sign there again. And I think that this could be a situation like Brandon Saad that they can now. Saad has kind of opened up the door for some teams to pull some moves because it's gutsy.
It sure is.
It for some teams, depending on how you look at it.
Right.
Now here you go in terms of players that have been traded over the last couple days. The reports are that Columbus is very close to the extension on Brandon Saad, probably 6 years. Pierre LeBrun just tweets out, hearing the Buffalo Sabres and Ryan O'Reilly are very close on a long-term 7-year deal, which
that's terrible.
I would think that if it's 7 years, it's probably 7 by 7.
He's not.
And this one from Nick Kiprios a little earlier ago. I was for Mark Giordano being the Norris Trophy winner if he hadn't gotten hurt at the end of the year. But they're talking about, he says, Giordano is eligible to now sign an extension. The opening offer from Giordano's camp is max 8 years, $72 million.
Oh,
$9 million per. Now, okay, Giordano, I believe isn't he 30? Isn't he 30?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. He's gone. That's gone.
A lifetime contract right there. That's the old-fashioned Wayne Gretzky. We're going to sign you to a lifetime contract, essentially.
Yeah. He's gone if he expects to get 8 years and $9 million per. I mean, I think in a way that Calgary just insulated themselves by the possibility of Giordano walking by trading for Dougie Hamilton. They'd have Hamilton, they have Brody, they have Russell, they have Weidman for a couple more years.
It's like an episode of Pawn Stars. There's no way they get that price.
No, but I mean, if that's the starting point, Russ, if the starting point for Mark Giordano is 8 years and $72 million, holy moly! I mean, what the hell? That's ridiculous. But okay.
At worst, he's going to get 7+. Because if you look at what other guys are getting, that pay, he's a really good defenseman.
We have Kevin Allen here. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, how are you? Just
Pretty
thought I'd
good.
stop in a little bit before the action starts here in roughly 28 minutes.
Yeah,
roughly 28 minutes. You have a clock that works because our boss's countdown clock is broken.
My clock back there stopped at 11:22.
Kevin,
I predicted that.
Kevin, can we get your insight on the Brandon Saad deal, because that took us.
Well, it was really surprising, and to me, I'm wondering now, is it going to signal a trend? I mean, now we've seen two young players whose teams who had salary cap issues have said, no, we're not going to go there. We're not going to give you more than we think you're worth. And at least in Chicago's case, I thought they got a reasonable return. Anisimov is not one of my all-time favorites because I find him to be a little inconsistent. But, in the Western Conference, as everybody knows, you need a big center to help compete against the Anaheims and Kings of the world. And now the Blackhawks have one, and they've signed him to a long-term deal. And, I think you can pencil him in for 15 to 18 goals every year. And Marco Dano, I've spoken to a couple of GMs who really like him. They think he's a real feisty player, who will go in the corners and in the net. So, I think the Blackhawks did okay. But, I never like a deal when you give up the best player in the deal, and Saad is the best player. So I understand why they did what they did. I think it's a little better situation than what the Bruins did, but it's still a little bit stunning.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that you see now the trend. I mean, there was the trend towards the bridge deal, and then you had Edmonton signing all these their young top picks out of their entry-level deals to long-term extensions for $6 million a year. And now you have Dougie Hamilton and Brandon Saad both coming off their entry-level deals, and the teams not either being able or not being willing to pay them the big money and shipping them out somewhere. Is this a trend now that teams are going to be hesitant to sign those long-term extensions, and then these players go someplace else?
I mean, I think so, right? And the other thing that I would say here is the one player that keeps coming up when I think about this is Dustin Byfuglien. You know, and
Right.
we did talk about this before, Kevin. You know, there's a player who we know wants a ton of money. We don't know what Winnipeg's willing to pay. We don't know that he wants to stay in Winnipeg completely. And you know, he's 1 year away. You know, this might give GMs a little more gumption, so to speak. You know, we've had some wimpy GMs over the past few years, I think, and I'm happy. I was happy to see like an actual bold trade. You know, there really have been people who, I mean, for what it's worth, it seems like a crazy trade, and more than one person have told me this is Chicago jumping the shark. But I don't know. I don't know. I mean, this is.
I don't know if they jumped the shark. I mean, that's a little extreme.
Yeah. I don't see that at all. I mean, I could see why teams would be critical of them trading Brandon Saad. I mean, I think he was part of their core group now, and you know, he's everything you sort of want in a player. Mm-hmm. He's strong. He's feisty. He can score goals. He can play high tempo hockey. He can do it all. So I understand that, but I also think that part of being successful is you have to do it under the cap. And you know, I thought it was interesting. I was on the conference call, and I asked directly whether or not of Jarmo Kekalainen, whether he thought this was a trend of, you know, moving out your players. And he said, well, we'll probably be in this situation too, because we have a lot of good young players. And, you know, they're going to come of age, and, you know, we may have to ship out a player or two. So maybe that's the trend. Maybe that you're going to have to make the decision, and the decision won't always be to move out the Patrick Sharps and the Bickles, but also maybe a good young player, and then try to recoup, you know, good young players back. But this is going to be a real interesting day. There's no doubt about it. I still think, I wrote my column yesterday, and I said the better players that can impact teams the most are the ones that are available in the trade market, not in the free agent market.
Yeah, I think that's a good.
Well, Kevin, do you think now that the Blue Jackets are going to have to trade one of their forwards? Are they going to have to try and move like a Hartnell or an Atkinson? Because at some point they're going to have to free up money too.
Yeah, I don't think there's any pressing reason to do that now. But I mean, they have tried to move Atkinson in the past, or at least entertained offers for him. So I would say that that's, you know, at some point that would be likely. But you know, with the players that are available now, with Patrick Sharp and you know, we're hearing Kevin Shattenkirk, you know, TJ Oshie, you know, I guess Phil Kessel, although, you know, all of a sudden in the last 24 hours you're starting to hear people suggest that the Maple Leafs are considering keeping Kessel to see what Babcock can do with him. I have not been able to.
Mike's shaking his head.
Doesn't it feel a little bit like
I think it's blatant propaganda. I mean, I've heard the same thing, Kevin. And I think right now this is the, you know, it is a concerted effort on the part of the Leafs to say, oh, we don't have to trade him. So you know the fact that there's desperation out there, that aspect of it can be allayed to a certain extent. I think if they're looked upon as being desperate, then teams can offer them peanuts. If they say, well, we're willing to keep them, then you know, then they have a little bit more of an upper hand. I still think they want to trade them. I just think they want to get a certain price, and if they don't, then they have to keep them. But I think that they want to get rid of them.
Real quick, I wanted to talk to Kevin about Ribeiro, who you broke the signing of today. I mean, I think we talked about it yesterday, but it is a good fit. I'm glad the Predators got that done.
Well, they did, and to me, if Ribeiro didn't re-sign with them. It was, to me, a little disrespectful. They were the team that gave him the second chance, the opportunity after he was bought out. You know, he played well there. He got his life and career back on track, and they were offering him, clearly by what he signed for, a reasonable contract. So had he turned down $7 million over 2 years to go elsewhere, I'd wonder about him, because to me, if I had been in his skates and had been given the opportunity that he was given to, come back and play a lot and regain the, his career and his life and so forth, it just made a lot of sense. So, it's interesting. He played well for him, and I think they're glad to have him back. But I still think that one of the things holding the Predators back is the lack of number one center. I'm sure the way they view it is Fisher is their number one center, but as much as I like him as well, he's not a number one center either. So they're in the Western Conferences with a lot of great centers, and they don't have a number one.
Kevin, do you think that the Saad deal? I mean, I heard one hockey reporter indicate that he thought that the Saad deal might spur Stan Bowman to keep Patrick Sharp, because now if you trade Sharp and you trade Saad, that's 2 top 6 wingers. Maybe they can affect the salary cap clearing by moving Bickle, and if they know what they have in Sharp, they know what they have in terms of cost certainty, because he's making 5.9 for the next 2 years. Do you think there's a possibility that they would pull back from trading Sharp now?
Well, basically what he said last night was in a teleconference call is that all the options are open, which I thought was his code for saying we don't necessarily have to trade both Bickle and Sharp. So I think he's going to look and see what's available out there. Like, they're still not out of the woods. They're still in a mess. I mean, the word is, and I haven't had this confirmed, is that they've already re-signed Anisimov, and his price is not inexpensive. So they're going to still have to do something. So I wouldn't be shocked if they still end up trading at least Bickle and then maybe Sharp as well, because they're going to lose Aduya.
Yeah.
I want to real quick, a couple quick things. Joe Ward to Montreal, I heard, is a very good possibility.
Wow.
I heard the Flyers are close on Neuwirth as their backup.
Yeah.
Which I like. I think that's a good move. Paul Martin, who was looking to head to San Jose, now we've kind of determined San Jose is probably not the leading candidate, could be heading to Edmonton. Edmonton could make a splash with 2 defensemen, I was told.
Yeah.
They could actually get Paul Martin and could try to go after Andrej Sekera as well. So that could be...
I wouldn't be surprised if Buffalo's in on Paul Martin, the Pittsburgh connection with Bilesma as a possibility. Talk about Buffalo, Francois Beauchemin's name came up.
I heard him connected with Colorado today, Beauchemin.
Yeah, that too. I heard
I
that.
think Anaheim really wants to bring him back, and I think that at the end of the day he's going to end up back in Anaheim. That's just a prediction.
Yep. No, I'm with you on that. He likes it there. He's a good man. I can see why everybody wants him, though, but to me, it doesn't make any sense for Anaheim to let him go away. He does too many things. Big shot, good one-on-one player, good size.
And this might be a bit of posturing, because the time that he did leave Anaheim before, it was a disaster in Toronto for 2 years, and he has enjoyed the best parts of his career with the Ducks. So yeah, you might be right. Here's an illustration of what we're going to go through the next few days. Pierre LeBrun reports the Leafs circled back to Calgary regarding interest in Kessel, and there's not a fit there. At about the same moment, Nick Kyprios from Sportsnet, hearing talks between Leafs and Pens heating up on Kessel, told trade could happen as early as today. It's unbelievable how
that same period of time I was texted Kessel getting closer. So there you go. How you have it.
So
we're all talking about, literally 10 minutes ago or an hour ago, we were all talking about how the posturing, because Jaron Drager puts out earlier this morning, right, that he thinks Babcock would like to coach Kessel for a year.
Yeah,
this is what I say. Of all the teams that I've heard, the one that's the most intriguing is the Penguins. Like, if they could make that work, and to be honest, I can't figure out. It doesn't make any sense. I certainly would not give Mott up. The idea of
What about Derek Pouliot, though? Pouliot's a nice piece.
Yeah, but it's just not enough. I don't think.
That would be like the starting point, but he'd be a big guy in that trade.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry, Kevin. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I'm just going to say the idea of Crosby and Kessel together, it would be exciting from the league perspective and from the Penguins. And on that note, guys, I got to bail out.
Thank you, Kevin, so much for jumping on. Appreciate it.
See you later.
Good luck today. We'll talk later.
Yeah, and
I also heard Oshie to the Islanders is a possibility. That was.
I was just going to say that I just got a couple texts about Oshie to the Islanders.
Is that an Oppozo trade, possibly?
Not necessarily, I was told.
The report that I heard this morning, Russ, was that the names regarding the Leafs and the Penguins were Harrington and Kasperi Kapanen.
Okay,
I don't
say he's like a third pairing defenseman. Kapanen obviously could be a second liner, maybe a first liner. I would still, if it were me, I would rather have Pouliot, but maybe Penguins won't move on Pouliot.
Well, no, maybe the Leafs don't want Pouliot. Maybe the guy that they want is Mata, and if they can't get Mata, then they would rather go with the
because they know he could fill a role. Yeah,
right, exactly.
I can see that. I mean, that makes a little bit of sense. Harrington's NHL ready. The Leafs need some guys.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, look, I'm not even a Pouliot fan. I'll be the first to admit it. Now, the Islanders thing, boy, I got to tell you, if Oshie goes there, I don't know what his contract situation is, but he's going to then ask for pretty big money. 2 more years?
2 years, $4 million a year.
Right. So for a little while, they've got cost certainty. He'd be dynamite with Tavares. I mean, there's no doubt about it. That might actually be the most exciting guy they've put with him in years if they could get him.
Yeah, I'm such a big TJ Oshie fan. I am. I mean, right now, like I know I had this discussion with actually Kevin the other day, debated it how good Oshie really is, you know, and it is debatable. I mean, he's a very charismatic player. Obviously, you know, he's gained a lot of popularity since the whole Russian shootout thing. He's become more of a national figure than any other St. Louis Blue in probably years. But at the same time, you know, I actually just like watching the guy play. I mean, he gives it all. He's the kind of guy who will leap into the air to keep a puck in the zone. You know, it's just like he's that kind of player that just he doesn't play a normal game at all. There's so many players in the NHL that you watch skate that look like other players in the NHL. You know, and Oshie doesn't. Yeah, what do you have, Dan?
I just had another text, not trade or anything related, but I just got a text that Jack Eichel is going to sign with the Sabres today.
Yep.
Wow.
I did put that out, and he wasn't going back to college.
I have a scoop. Connor McDavid is going to sign with the Oilers.
No, but Eichel actually is.
Yeah.
Eichel's a little bit more of a scoop because there was still question about him. I mean, I don't think there was much question.
No question. No.
All right, well, Rush, you know better than us. We'll just shut up.
No, I mean, nobody. Eichel was playing. Come on.
No, I know. And there's no question Eichel can play in the NHL. Like Eichel belongs in the NHL.
As we were just discussing, Colorado has interest in Francois Beauchemin per Bob McKenzie. So there you go. I mean, you know, I mean Beauchemin is a valuable defenseman, and the thing is, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to argue with Kevin because I think that he would flourish still in Anaheim. He is, like I said, he's played his best in his career in Anaheim. But with them getting Bieksa yesterday, they may have moved on from Beauchemin unless Beauchemin takes the deal that they're offering them, that they're offering him. If it's a 2-year deal, maybe they won't go 3 years on Beauchemin. Maybe that was the sticking point. Now I know that Bieksa is going to sign an extension with Anaheim that includes a no-move clause, but I haven't seen the number of years. And Bieksa is 32. I believe he's a couple years younger than Beauchemin is. So. You know, that's going to be an interesting situation and see how it plays out. But if he sees an opportunity to get a 3-year deal somewhere, sort of like Stefan Robida got with Toronto last year, a guy who's in his mid-30s, he has to take that deal.
Right. Right. No, you're absolutely right.
Now, Dan, what do you think the Islanders are going to do? Because I mean, we heard, you know. Brad Richards possibly is a veteran.
I don't see that. They're not bringing a center in. It just makes no sense to bring a center in. They have too many centers.
Okay.
They could use a forward to play with Tavares, obviously. I think if you got to go with a Poso and Strome or Lee and Strome or any combination of those three, I think they'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely think they want to upgrade the first line.
Michael Frolik is closing in on an extension with Winnipeg. Looks to be a $5 million AAV. That per Chris Johnston from Sportsnet.
Wow.
He was supposed to be now. You know, he was not the number 1 free agent forward. He was probably in the top 5.
One of the best ones, though.
But he's a very good two-way guy, but if he's getting $5 million, what is Matt Bolesky gonna get?
Something really bad.
Russ, let's do a little Matt Bolesky sweepstakes here. Let's make a prediction. It's 11:49 right now. He's probably going to be off the board by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. What do you think he's going to get year-wise and money-wise? Russ, you
I'm
first.
going to go 4 years, $28 million.
4 years, $28 million. Okay, Dan.
5 years, $30 million.
Eck.
6 years, 24.5.
So only $4 million.
Yeah.
Okay, I think he's going to go 6 years, 36, $6 million per for 6 years.
To Toronto.
No, please, no, because I'm telling you right now, and I said it in my blog this morning. Matt Bolesky is the Jason Blake and David Clarkson of the 2015 free agent class.
I agree.
Yeah, there's no.
I'll tell you one thing. Go ahead, Russ.
No, that's true. I mean, I totally agree with that. That's right on par.
You know, we talk about all these deals, and we talk about like GMs not being able to get these bridge deals done. But if you look at Garth Snow's signing, boy, Anders Lee looks pretty good. 4 years, 3.75.
That was
how good does Hamonic look at 3.75?
Yeah, that was a great signing, and Hamonic was a great signing, and that's countered by the terrible signings that he made for Grabowski and Kuhlman.
Right.
Don't let the facts get in the way of a good argument. I know you jump on Dog Kuhlman, but Kuhlman was exactly what that team needed, and he was so valuable.
I like Kuhlman. I think he's a quality two-way player. I think he's a great second or third liner. He's just not a $4 million player. Now, in escalating...
But for what he's doing for the Islanders, I think that's fine.
And paying...
Jarmo Kekalainen said he's going to have a couple bad contracts. Every GM does now. There's no way around.
Absolutely.
And paying Grabowski $5 million is obscene, just like it was paying him $5.5 million when the Leafs signed him was obscene. But no, the thing is, you look at Bolesky. Bolesky scored 11 goals in 2010. That was his highest goal production until he scored 22 in I think it was 65 games with Anaheim last year. It's the typical I'm going to put up big numbers before free agency, and then what happens? He's going to be comfortable. He's going to get this 6-year deal. You know, if he, God forbid, if he signs with a team like Montreal and he doesn't perform, the fans in Montreal will put out a contract out on him. But we'll see. Pierre LeBrun.
I don't know. I'm not going to go against Chris Johnson because he's a great reporter and everything like that. But there's still some questions about a source I talked to about the Winnipeg extension with Frolov. Frolik, sorry. Frolov.
The kids call him Frolov.
Wow.
By the way, now that's a clock. Come on, give it up.
There we go. Look at that.
Yeah, you replaced it with an even older one. That's great.
Even older, bigger clock.
Okay, Ack, are you going to pull out the sundial at 2 o'clock in the afternoon?
Yeah, right. I know. It's a giant clock. I can't really.
Yeah, well, Nick Kyprios reported about an hour ago that the Leafs were in on Bolesky and Frolik. So, it's like right now. There's a lot of information out there. I think once we see the dominoes start to fall, we'll get a clearer picture of what's going on here.
11:53 a.m. by the way, just if you can't check.
Tick, 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 tick,
This
tick, tick.
clock is wrong. Sorry.
Just take it out, please. This is.
Who do you think the Islanders are going to get for a backup goalie?
Michael Neuwirth.
I'm trying to figure. I'm thinking Grace maybe.
Maybe they'll trade back for Chad Johnson.
No, that's not going to work. We read that book already.
Interesting little note here, and we're not going to we won't talk about the situation, but Mike Richards is not listed on the NHL's official free agent list.
Ooh.
Well, yeah, because he's pending investigation. I mean,
is it pending litigation? Now, this is the thing, Russ. With this pending situation. This is sort of preventing him from getting a job.
But it's his fault.
Yeah.
True.
At the end of the day, it's his fault. We crossed the border. We're going into another country. There's rules that apply. You should know those rules ahead of time. And again, we don't know if they were prescribed or not. So, that's where we're at right now.
Now here's something about somebody getting their priorities in check here. There are reports about Vladimir Tarasenko signing his free agent contract with the St. Louis Blues. He's a restricted free agent. There was speculation that he might be the target of an offer sheet.
I would.
Like Saad or like Hamilton. But the report is that from Pierre LeBrun, doubt Tarasenko signs today. He got married today in Russia. So, come on, Vladimir, get your priorities in check. She can wait a day. Sign your free agent deal. Come on.
Wednesday wedding, was he trying to save money?
Well, he should have signed the contract before he got married because if he ends up getting divorced in 2 years, then she can't ask for part of the money in terms of community property.
That said from a true single guy. Hey, talking about priorities. Before I was doing this show, I was spraying. There's this stuff called Goaters, and it gets rid of the hockey stink from your equipment, and it kills bacteria. I haven't used that equipment in a year, so I was out there spraying, man. You never know.
So it's sort of like Febreze for hockey equipment.
Yeah, it's Febreze for hockey. I think it's cool, and you never know when I'm going to get invited to X rink to actually play. So I sprayed down my stuff because I don't want a flesh-eating bacteria. You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
Well, I wouldn't mind a flesh-eating bacteria if I could get it to stop at a certain point.
Right.
And maybe I could get it to just eat the fat. That would be great.
All right,
We could have a HockeyBuzz tournament at X rank. I like the sound of that.
Oh, that sounds awesome, doesn't it? I've kind of got that banker thing going on now from the from Deal or No Deal, especially when I go to the side and work on my computer.
Yeah, you should actually you should just be a silhouette right now.
So when I'm on my side, guys, that's what I'm going to be doing throughout the show. That's going to be.
He was a silhouette once on what, Rogers on Sportsnet?
I went on Sportsnet and did a silhouette thing. Yeah, that's exactly what they wanted. They wanted me to be the banker from that show.
Right.
It's a famous day that we'll talk about at some other time.
I'm sure there's a big story there.
Oh, there's a great story, Russ. There's a great story. I just got another thing about Crawford. Just something we're going to have to watch all day, Corey Crawford. I mean, I don't think it's being reported by anybody else, so we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, okay. Do you think...
Oh, also, one more thing. While I was away, I got a call that the Penguins are kind of pushing things with the Leafs a little bit here. Because they obviously, Oshie's a guy they are interested in. They also have thought about Vermette. I think it's going back to Arizona, but they've thought about him. And the Penguins want, to know what's going on with Kessel. They don't want to sit around and wait. Obviously, the Penguins need wingers very badly. So that's a lot of this Kessel stuff. I think is right now being pushed. I think either Kessel gets dealt to the Penguins soon, or Kessel doesn't get dealt to anyone for a little while. That's the impression I get.
Can I just say, for comedic purposes during the regular season, like the first time he doesn't back check and Crosby tries to tomahawk him with a stick, I think that would be hilarious.
Excellent.
That'd be good.
I honestly think, as a longtime observer of the Leafs and somebody who has observed the Toronto scene in terms of their fans, the organization has to trade Phil Kessel. Right. This is potentially could be as bad in terms of a reaction with Phil Kessel than what happened with Larry Murphy a few years ago, because it will become toxic. Right. Because I honestly do not believe that even if Mike Babcock, one of the best coaches in the league, with the core group that they have, that this team will be successful. And this is the thing. It can be written off as one bad year right now. Things fell apart. It was a bad half season. He scored 25 goals. There is the power of redemption here if these players come back. There are teams out there that will say, okay, it was a bad year, but these guys will come back. If they put 2 bad years in a row, good luck moving Kessel next year. Good luck moving Fino.
Applying logic to this. Don't stop applying logic to this, because I think, as you're seeing, logic goes out the window. Something I did want to mention, following back with Dan, as far as the Kessel-Crosby thing. In 2005, I covered the World Juniors in Vancouver, and so I wrote an article about Crosby and Kessel. Like I said, hey, Canada's got Crosby and the U.S. has Kessel. I probably didn't imagine when I was writing that article that those two could be on the same team someday. Because, going into that series, Kessel was looked at as a potential superstar. Now, while he's been a star, he's never really broken into the superstar status. So with Crosby, though, he could be a superstar.
Russ, wasn't Kessel a center in college?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and then he moved. The Bruins moved him to the wing. I know they tried him a little bit at center and it didn't work. And I know that he doesn't like playing center. The Crawford discussion before was regarding a potential trade of Corey Crawford to the Winnipeg Jets, involving somebody like Andre Pavlik, coming back. Now
It's
Pavlik's-
noon. Sorry.
It is noon. What I was going to ask was...
Wait, what does the clock say?
Can we see the clock at all?
Yes, the clock is a little slow.
I don't know if it's lit. Oh, man. All right.
It's a little slow. It's still not right.
A little slow. All right.
The thing is, do you think that the Chicago Blackhawks could conceivably go with Scott Darling as their number one goaltender?
Well, no.
Because I don't think Andres Pavlik is a number one goalie in the
I don't
NHL.
either.
That's why if they were getting Connor Hellebuck, I would say, okay, I get it. Winnipeg's looking for somebody established. Chicago's willing to take a chance because they've got Darling as an insurance.
Yeah.
No way do I see Pavlik as a starter anywhere else ever in the NHL.
And I'll tell you this: if they are trading Crawford, it's for one reason and one reason only. They want to get out of the long-term commitment to him, and they're going to use that money to re-sign Brent Seabrook.
Yeah, I would say so, but that's going to be a big risk if they're literally going into the season and Scott Darling's their number one, especially since they let Aranta go. I mean, he's a good backup. I mean, that was, So
Yeah, I like that move. I like that move for the Rangers. I think he can play.
That was smart.
Let's go through some of the teams. Start with the Atlantic Division. I don't foresee Tampa being big players today, except for possibly, if there's a possibility of a Jonathan Drouin deal out there. I mean, we keep talking about it. It's been hinted. I don't know whether they. Go ahead, Russ.
I think that's a product of the media. I think they were just hardlining him so he would play a little harder on defense and just sort of come around a little bit more. But you saw towards the end of the Cup, he was playing more. He was playing in bigger situations. They weren't showcasing him. They were trying to win the Cup. He's not going anywhere.
Right. Now, I don't see them clearing out any salary. Obviously, now the Stamkos situation comes front and center.
Would they try and clear out Brian Boyle? It wouldn't shock me because they seemed to be on the outs with him towards the end of the Cup there. If you noticed, his ice time dropped dramatically.
He was injured.
Yeah, that's a good question.
He was, but he wasn't all that effective in the postseason, late in the postseason, injury or not. So I just kind of wonder, that's a big deal for a guy like him that's, sort of a role player.
Yeah, but I don't think he's making big money though. I think he's making like $3 million. I'll check, but I don't think he's making real big money. And if he's not, then there's really no reason. Brian Boyle, $2 million for this year or next year. That's really not. That's really,
they'll keep him.
Yeah. So I mean, do they, if they want to clear room, do they move one of their defense? I mean, they have a very expensive defense right now. Carl 5.5, Garrison at 4.6, Coburn at 4.5, Strawman at 4.5, Hedman at 4.
The only reason they could move him is if Slater Cuckoo's ready. If Slater Cuckoo's ready, then maybe they can move one of those guys. Otherwise, they're not in a position to move him.
Now,
Right.
Florida might be in a situation here where, since they have a lot of room, they could trade for a guy like Patrick Sharp. And we know the Dale Talon connection with the Blackhawks. I mean,
real quick, guys. Mike Riley's deal is official with Minnesota. Not that it's a big deal, obviously. That was
right.
Yeah.
And I'll offer you $38,500 for that case. I'll talk to you a bit.
Oh, jeez. Deal or no deal?
Yeah. Right.
For what case? Oh, I see what you're saying. I got you.
Deal or no deal? Yeah. But
I see Patrick Sharp wearing a Speedo in Miami. I just could see it.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't see I don't see a Kessel deal happening there. I mean, that was the possible destination since they really need to add scoring, but they maybe they're not willing to pay that price. Sportsnet's reporting Yannick Weber a 1-year contract. I think it was back with Vancouver.
Oh, is that our first signing officially?
Yeah, I think
All right, so today's show, by the way, is sponsored by the new Minions movie that's coming up.
I'm excited. Yeah.
So whenever you have a signing, I have to do this.
How much money do we get for that promotion?
Yeah.
Here we go. So this is officially.
Thank you.
There you go. It's one of the
Better than the clock.
$10 million bonus deal, by the way, for today, just for this.
The Montreal Canadiens, from all indications, they're out there looking for looking for scoring. I mean, they've reportedly been in on Sharp, but they have a very structured salary
I'm
situation.
sorry, Mike. The minion's gone nuts, and I can't stop it.
Okay, we'll just talk over.
I'm gonna mute myself for a second.
That's like most general managers today. They've gone nuts and they can't stop themselves.
Nice, touche. Russ, I mean, I don't see Montreal overpaying in a deal for a guy like Patrick Sharp. I mean, I saw one report that it was like Jakob de la Rose and a draft pick, and I think de la Rose is a good young player. I don't see them getting rid of him.
No, we had Mark Hershey on our XM show at the draft, and a GM's never going to divulge that much. But the one thing he did divulge was his scouting past and the fact that he does sort of, watch his dollars and cents. He's not going to give up prized young players. He's just not going to do it. That's not been his style to do it. And so I would be very surprised if they did that. I don't think they're in a position where they need to do that. Carey Price got a clean sweep on the awards. He's coming back. PK Subban's coming back. They added Petrie at the deadline. He's coming back. So they'll figure out. Maybe they'll get one forward, but they're not going to spend a lot of money. And
Hold on, guys. I got something breaking here. The Kessel deal is getting close again. This is being told to me by several sources right now, all of whom want this to end very badly,
including me,
and don't want to talk about this anymore. But yeah, just saying that this is what I'm hearing right now.
To Pittsburgh?
I think it's got. If it's now, I think it's Pittsburgh. I think if it's.
Here's my question: what do they have that Toronto might want?
I think Ole Mata is going to be in this trade. I think Ole Mata is going to be in this trade, and I think $2 million are going to be taken by the Leafs on this deal.
That's the only way they get Mata is that they make Kessel a $6 million player. And this is the thing. I mentioned this before, and this is the possible fallback when it comes to the Maple Leafs and Kessel and Phaneuf, is the fact that Nathan Horton's contract, $5.3 million, long-term injury, is a buffer for the Maple Leafs for the next 5 years. Because if you look at it, if they take $2 million, keep $2 million on Kessel's salary, that lasts 7 years. That $2 million will be against the cap. But if they get to be a cap team, which they normally are, the long-term injury kicks in on Horton. That's $5.3 million. That's money above the cap that they can spend. So if they're spending $2 million on Kessel's contract, that's counteracted by what they can go over the cap with Nathan Horton's deal. If they have to take money on Phaneuf's deal as well, they can take $2 million off of that. But now the thing is, the team is limited to 3 players per year that they can retain money on, and that would be using up one of those moves each year for the next 7 years. But if that's the price you pay to get a really good return back from a team like Pittsburgh, and don't get me wrong, they're probably gonna have to retain salary and take a bad contract back, like Chris Kunitz.
So that's what I'm getting at. Maybe it won't be Kunitz. Maybe it'll be Chris Letang. Maybe they've gotten medicals on him and said.
No, that would be an atrocity. That would be a terrible move.
Yeah, kind of agree.
Well, here's my question: if Mata's in this deal, did Pittsburgh just kind of solve one problem and create another one? They're pretty thin on the blue line too.
Yeah, right.
They are thin, but at the same time, when I talk to people in Pittsburgh, they all say I'm nuts for saying that they're thin on defense. They say that they're
thin on defense.
I know, I agree with you, but Russ, they keep telling me that they have prospects, that they're in good shape. No?
They do have prospects, but I don't know how many of them are ready to make the jump. That's why I would be looking to move this Letang contract, because I don't know what Chris Letang is anymore. No offense, I like the guy. If I'm the GM, I gotta look at.
Okay, let's see if we can log out some guys, because we are getting awful echo. So everybody log out and come back in. I'll stay here for a second. We'll just log out, and I'll talk about Kessel for a second.
Just log out and log back in, guys.
Yeah, just close your window, come back on. Yeah, so Matt Hunwick is signed a 2-year deal with the Leafs. That's coming up, right? We're hearing that. Let's see. So Dan, yep, there we go. So that's being reported by TSN, which I'm sure you're probably watching as well as this. So we just want to keep you up to date on TSN. That was Bob McKenzie recording Matt Hunwick a two-year deal. So Mackenzie's reporting a 2-year deal with Matt Hunwick and the Maple Leafs. Done, Mike?
Matt Hunwick?
Yes. I like Matt Hunwick. I think he's a good defenseman.
I do too.
I think it's actually a pretty good deal. The rumor, I don't know. I mean, it's being recorded by Mackenzie. I don't know yet what the actual number is, but I'm going to try to find out here. The Flyers are also very high on Frolik.
The rumor is there are some reports it's $1.2 million per year for 2 years. That is a reasonable amount for a bottom pairing defenseman. See, that's the thing, Ak. If you look at their situation right now, they need guys to bridge the gap while some of their young defensemen are coming up.
Exactly.
And this is right now they have Phaneuf, they have Jake Gardner, they have Roman Polak, who they're probably going to trade by the end of the year because he's a UFA. They have Stefan Robida for 2 more years, but he's 38 years old. They have some young guys. Morgan Riley is going to take a bigger and bigger role as things go on, and they may get a defenseman. If they get quickly, a defenseman,
a couple things. Boschevin signed with Colorado.
I got one.
And Todd Greiss is signed with the Islanders. So there's your
Thomas Greiss.
Thomas Greiss signed with the Islanders. So there's your.
He's all right. He's pretty
backup goalie. That's a pretty good pickup. I like Thomas.
He's a stable backup goalie.
Which is what they needed, right? So Boschman does end up going to Colorado after all that. I mean, there was definitely. This makes me wonder. I'm telling you right away. I'm going to throw this out there. This makes me really wonder about Anaheim and Dion Phaneuf because I know Ducks have been talking to Toronto about. I'm sorry, I keep getting texts. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do it at the same time. I don't know how these guys on TSN do it, like sit at the table. But I'll just throw this out there. Yeah, I think that this makes me wonder about Phaneuf now. But I'll be back. I got a call.
Yeah, see, here's the thing. So if I look at Pittsburgh, they've got Pouliot. If Mott is gone, they've got Pouliot, they've got Harrington, they've got Joe Morrow. And Joe Morrow's fine for a puck-moving guy who could play some physical play. I don't think he's going to add much offense at the NHL. He was good in juniors. Harrington, I think, could be a middle to lower pairing D-man. I mean, Pouliot's supposed to be a number 1. I don't think he's a number 1. Maybe he's a number 3. We'll see. He didn't put up a lot of points in 31 games. I think he put up 7 points last year. But he's young. He's young. Right. But that's not a lot to hang your hat on. That's the issue.
Yeah. I mean, their defensive situation is in I mean, and just look at the bodies that have come out of Pittsburgh in the last 2 years. They've lost Orpik. They've lost Niskanen. They're going to lose Ehrhoff and Paul Martin. So you're talking four veteran defensemen there. Rob Scuderi is a shadow or a shell of his former self. Letang has got the stroke and concussion questions. He was having a great year last year, but then with all this stuff going on, and he's signed up, I believe, for 6 more years at over $7.5 million. So you're talking about a risky proposition. That's why, like, if you're talking about trading Letang, I mean, Letang is a more risky proposition than a guy like Kessel or Phaneuf.
Real quick, someone just texted me that this also could be clearing space to get a Kessel deal done in Anaheim. So just throwing that out there.
Which deal?
Boschman signing there. Could have to do with Kessel, perhaps.
Where did Boschman go? I missed that.
Colorado.
Okay.
Here's the thing about Letang. He's only played 142 games in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, so Pittsburgh really can't afford to give up defensemen. I don't know what Jim Rutherford's thinking, honestly. Well, if he wants to have a deep defense core, if he wants to have, like, 3 good defensemen, then sure, by all means, make the deal.
Okay, here we go with the first fake. There is a fake Bob McKenzie out there, so watch out, everybody. Of course, he did it Bob McKenzie with an extra E.
Their one year was in Eklund, where they used a capital I instead of a lowercase L, which is exactly the same thing on a keyboard.
Yeah. You're going places if you have a fake account.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, my theory on this is that there are kids in college who one day will strive to be a fake Twitter account. That's what they wanted their life to be,
Aaron Ward reports Adam Pardee re-signs with the Winnipeg Jets, 1 year, $1 million. He was basically a depth guy.
You know what that means? It's party time.
Jeez.
Thomas Hickey extension with the Islanders is official.
Yeah, it's hard to get excited about that.
No, I know. I'm just reporting.
I mean, even Hickey's play, I like him. He's a good kid. His play went down a little last year, especially in the playoffs. It did.
He's a placeholder.
Yeah. They just like him. I get it.
Yeah, he's a placeholder for Pulak and Mayfield and those guys.
Yep.
I still think the Islanders need to add something on the blue line. Maybe I'm in the minority.
I think they need a bottom pairing defenseman.
Yeah, I can see them adding some sort of veteran to that mix, but again, I think Mayfield might be ready. So then, if that's the case, they wouldn't have to.
And I think Pulak's ready.
Dan, were you happy?
Ready if they're going to give him power play time. If they're going to just bring him up and not give him a lot of power play time,
it can't happen. Yeah. No, if you're putting Pulak on your roster, it's to fix your power play because that shot is special. You've seen it, Russ.
Oh yeah, no, he's got the best. He might have the best shot, not in the NHL, but you've got to commit to him being the #1 option on the power play. Because if you don't, then I don't see bringing him up for a little while, maybe mid-season. Then
Exactly.
Dan, were you happy with the return that the Islanders got for Griffin Reinhart from Edmonton?
Well, since you guys know how I feel about Griffin Reinhart, I kind of danced the jig. I did a few cartwheels.
Why do you think I asked the question?
Yeah, that was a loaded question. That was such a loaded question, Mike. No,
I thought it was a sledgehammer.
Reinhart can still be a very good player, but like I said, I haven't seen that many first-round picks look that overmatched in the AHL. So if when he makes it, it's going to take some time. I still think he can be a very good NHL defenseman, but I think there's some red flags there too. So I think Gard Snow did a really nice job of managing an asset. Since he's been passed by Pulak, he's been passed by Mayfield. Pellick had a nice year in Bridgeport. He's in the mix now. I think when you sign,
he's going to take a little while, but he's a really big kid who can skate really well for a guy his size, no question.
Here's an interesting.
I think too is you re-sign Leddy, you re-sign Boychuk, you re-sign Hamonic. Where all of a sudden now Reinhart is maybe a 4 or 5 or a 6 moving forward. I think they maximized their value for him.
Here's an interesting point.
I think it was a bad deal, but I will say this: they did lock up those guys, but that's if they're all healthy too. I think they took a really small look at Reinhart, and they're gonna regret it over time. That's what I think.
I just don't see it. I've seen, in my opinion of him, has nothing to do with his little stint in the NHL. I just have not seen a first-round pick that overmatched and disinterested at times, too.
All right, real quick, hearing more about Phil Kessel in Calgary as well, I have to say that if Brian Burke gets Phil Kessel, he is absolutely the ballsiest GM of all time.
And he's not even the GM.
I know he's not the GM. We talked about this yesterday, right? But there is no one. I mean, with all that he took for getting Phil Kessel for all those years, if he goes out and gets Phil Kessel again,
he doesn't care.
Oh, I know he doesn't care, but that goes beyond not caring. That goes to the point where he really, literally is the ballsiest executive of all time.
And let me tell you right now that if Phil Kessel is going to Calgary, the guy going back as part of the deal has got to be Sam Bennett.
They're not doing that.
That's not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Then you're not getting Kessel. I mean, then
I think what you think you're getting back, you're not going to get back. They'll get Emile Poirier. They'll get some really nice prospects that they have, maybe a good roster player. They're not getting back Sam Bennett.
Especially if Pierre LeBrun's report yesterday was true.
Stinks. That's the part.
I know. Russ, I know, but I'm saying if Pierre LeBrun's report from yesterday is true, and I have no reason to doubt it because Pierre LeBrun knows what he's talking about, and Calgary is not taking back Kessel, not taking Kessel on in a deal unless the Leafs eat $2 million in salary, then you're talking about a guy who's a top 10 scorer in 3 of the last 4 years who's making $6 million a year for the next 7 years. That's a very respectable, manageable number.
As a one-dimensional player.
I know. Hey,
you're going to get Jankowski or Poirier or both who are nice players. You're not getting Sam Bennett. I'd be shocked.
Okay. Well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I don't know if this is realistic, but I mean, we'll see.
Maybe they'll throw in Monahan too.
I mean, yeah, you're not getting Monahan.
DJ Brody, Monahan.
One thing I can tell you from talking to some people at Calgary, he is a beloved kid in that organization. Like, they think he's an all-timer. Like, just by the way he rehabbed his shoulder this year and got back to the NHL, I don't think they're including him in a trade. I don't.
Throw in that short guy. What's his name? Gaudreau. Yeah, throw him that. Throw him him.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, let's while Eck is getting some phone calls here, let's go through the Atlantic Division. We talked about Montreal. We talked about Florida and Tampa.
All right, let's make this easy for the Rangers. I'm pretty sure Glenn said
the Atlantic. Save the Rangers for the Metro.
There's nothing to do. He's out fishing.
Okay. The Buffalo Sabres. They made the Eichel pick.
Oh, I'm so glad. I was so worried that they weren't going to be able to come to terms with Jack Eichel. I can't tell you. That really.
I was too. Yeah. I really thought he was going to give away about $6 million to go back to school for 2 or 3 years.
Go back and eat in a dorm. Are you serious?
They're apparently very close. They're apparently very close on an extension for Ryan O'Reilly. From the indications in Buffalo right now, what the Sabres are looking to do is add a veteran defenseman. I thought that Paul Martin would be a logical fit here. With them trading Zadorov off, I think right now the only thing they do need in the short term is some veteran help on the blue line. What do you think, Russ?
Yeah, I think they need veteran help on the blue line. By the way, I just saw a Twitter picture. Jack Eichel cut up his meal card. So he's not eating that crap food anymore. No, I think they could use help. But, I mean, again, what are we talking about? They're better off just playing everybody they have and just seeing what they have. If I were them, I would pick up nobody in free agency because I'm not expecting to make the playoffs. I know.
No, but the thing is that the place setters from last year are all gone. They're losing. Boston. He played for Boston, Philadelphia. Andre Mazzaros. They lost Andre Mazzaros. All those guys, Tyson Strawn or Strachan, how you ever pronounce his name. I mean, all those place setters are gone. Right now, they have a very young defense.
But a kid like McNabb could play more minutes. Like, there's other guys that they have.
Well, yeah, I mean, Jake. Right now, it's Jake McCabe.
Yeah, McCabe is actually
Mark Pysyk, Josh Georges, and Zach Bogosian. They probably need a defenseman or two, and I don't think that they really have anybody who's ready to step up in the organization as a 4, 5, 6. So I think that they probably, unless you want to go with a guy like Chad Ruedel as a number 6 defenseman. So, I mean, I think they're going to go out there and try to get themselves an inexpensive veteran, somebody who they can play for 2 years while, I mean, I agree, Russ. They're not going to be a playoff team, but,
they traded McNabb. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's Jake. I mean, Jake. I was assuming you meant Jake McCabe because McCabe is ready, but they need a body or two on the blue line. But
they're going to be better this year, though. They're going to be significantly better.
Yeah, I mean, there's some excitement in Buffalo. At least give them a product that they don't have to be ashamed of. Because last year everybody was rooting for them to lose. Now this year everybody can root for them to win. Let's talk about the gift that keeps on giving, the Boston Bruins.
Where's Ty? Where's Ty right now?
Yeah, well, the funny thing is that it came out today. There was a couple reports that they might be in on a free agent defenseman like Mike Green. I'm like, okay. They're going to be paying Mike Green what they were supposed to pay to Dougie Hamilton. So why the hell would they do that? That doesn't make any sense.
What's going on up there? It's real. I saw a picture on the internet that was great. It was someone like taking off like a Don Sweeney mask, and underneath it was Mike Milbury smiling.
As much as Don Sweeney protests too much about the rebuild. They're rebuilding. I think they just don't want to say they're rebuilding. I think that's what's going on. I mean, if you see sometime this year them trading Dennis Seidenberg or getting somebody, desperate enough to trade for Dennis Seidenberg as he declines, or them even entertain the idea of trading Zdeno Chara, I mean, they're gonna keep the Marchands. Marchand, excuse me. They're gonna keep Marchand. They're gonna keep Bergeron. They're gonna keep Krejci. But if they start to move out the 30-plus guys, then it's a full-on rebuild. And I don't think they're gonna go to the extent of trading Tuukka Rask, but this is a rebuild. And Don Sweeney can protest as much as he wants to. It is a rebuild.
It is a rebuild. There's no question. Getting those 3 picks together, whether they were good or not, and not my favorite, as I said yesterday, it's a rebuild. And so, but again, Boston Bruins fans are paying a lot of money for tickets. Right. Jeremy Jacobs saw that after the Cup. So they're trying to sort of, give them something to watch, but not be killed on the cap. It's a tough spot because right now, today, Don Sweeney doesn't look very good in his new job.
No, right. and like I said yesterday, Russ, the only thing.
Real quick, guys, TSN's reporting the Oilers are close to getting Sekera and Latesta.
Mark Letestu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tilt your camera down a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Is Letestu a center, right?
Yeah, he's a center.
It looks like the Leafs got Matt Hunwick, too.
They did.
Yeah.
And I also heard again, some more of the Corey Crawford to Winnipeg talk. It's absolutely being discussed. I'll throw that out there. I'm going to come right back.
Yeah. Now we've already talked too much about Toronto, so we can pass them by.
Hunwick's a good pickup. I mean, he played solid for the Rangers. That's just another cap casualty where the Rangers couldn't hold on to him, but he's a good player.
And this is and the only thing I'll say about Toronto, because we'll be talking about them throughout the day, is the fact that this is what they're going to do. They're going to try to sign players to cost-effective, short-term deals. Hunwick is 30 years old. That's nothing. I mean, he's an NHL defenseman, probably a bottom pairing guy. He fits in. It's a short-term contract. That's what they're going to try. I think they're going to be in on a guy like Cody Hodgson because, like I mentioned before, because I think it's a low-risk move for the Leafs, and it's a good move for a guy like Hodgson who wants to get some exposure and get some playing time, and I think he'll have the opportunity in Toronto. But those are the type of moves they're going to make. They're 1 or 2 year contracts, low money. This talk about them going out and signing Cody Franzen, to my mind, is his agent doing his due diligence and floating Franzen's name out in the Toronto media to get the price up. He's going to go someplace for $5.5 or $6 million, and he's not going back to Toronto unless they're trading Dion Phaneuf. Then maybe there's a possibility.
I will tell you this: the Hunwick thing. I'm sure every Ranger fan would rather have Hunwick than Tanner Glass because the contracts are really close, and it's kind of interesting that. Really, Glenn Sader did no cap maneuvering before free agency. He, the Flyers traded Chris Pronger's contract. He didn't do anything to clear cap space. All he did was trade Hagelin to sort of be able to re-sign guys. So in a way, he cleared some cap space with that. But he didn't clear any additional cap space for any kind of free agency action. And so, now, you lose a player for $1.2 million. I understand if they didn't like him, but they used him a lot for a team that didn't like him then.
Yeah. Now, Ottawa.
In Chicago.
Go ahead. What was that? What was that, Dan?
Elliot Freeman reporting Viktor Tikhonov going to Chicago.
Okay.
That's a risk. Risk.
It is.
Yeah, but it depends on how much. I mean, it's not
even about how much. It's the same thing. Chicago thinks they could turn around every defenseman, and Rundblad didn't get turned around. He was as bad as I advertised him. He was a turnover almost, every other shift.
Well, this is the second.
Got that problem too.
This is the second time they've dipped into the KHL because they signed those at Panarin, and maybe they think that that they can get those two to maybe they play on the same line together. I don't know. I mean but depending on the money that they're spending, that's not a risky proposition. I mean, you're gonna find a lot of teams that are gonna dip into the KHL because there's a lot of players that are there's gonna be potential.
Players are jumping ship from the KHL. That's true.
Now, Ottawa Senators, I don't see them making a lot of moves today. I mean, they seem to be a budget team.
Guys, sorry, being told that there are definitely there's more to the Kessel thing still. That this is holding up some of the other possible signings. As we're seeing all defensive signings mostly here so far early on. And there's
domino effect.
Yeah. So I mean, even Frolik is not official. yet that I've been able to find at least. So yeah, I think that we are definitely seeing a situation where teams are going to wait, and there's a couple teams in on Kessel, and those teams are waiting on some other moves. So there's a domino effect going on right now, and so what teams have decided to do is focus on defense. I mean, I think Paul Martin's the next name to look at, who could probably maybe end up in LA. I was just told. So because obviously Sekera is now gone. Paul Martin, is another American. The LA team has their share of them. So keep an eye on that. I'll be back. Sorry.
Okay. Let's move to the Metro. First, let me ask just this question: have we seen the last of Marty St. Louis? Will we see him sign someplace else, or is he going to retire?
Devils.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Believe it or not, I talked to someone today. I thought Devils too.
And he's not going to Long Island. He's not. He burnt his bridges in New York with the Rangers, and he lives in Connecticut. And I know he wants to stay home, close to home. So I think the Devils make sense, and they're dumb enough to give out one of those deals.
That goes with the ownership of the Devils being AARP, because we have so many old players on that team. I mean, the Devils have. The funny thing was that they just put up the graphic here on the coverage of the deadline here on Sportsnet, which I have in the background. The three teams that have the most cap room available: $32 million for the Arizona Coyotes, 28 some odd million for the Nashville Predators. I believe New Jersey was third with around $23 million, and $20 million is the Anaheim Ducks. And when you consider the Anaheim Ducks got to the conference final, and I know they have a lot of young players that they're going to probably have to sign to bridge deals, but to X's point about them, creating room for like a guy like a Phaneuf, I mean, they did trade for Bieksa, and they're going to extend Bieksa, and that money is going to go forward. But they have room to make moves, and either short term or long term. Anaheim could be big players today, Dan.
Yeah, I think so. And they also have some guys they could trade too on manageable contracts that will be appealing to other teams too. They have a lot of guys that are on ELC, on entry level contracts. And if they see a guy that they want, they have the money to bring him in, and there's so many good prospects in the Anaheim organization on the team, in the minors. They are just absolutely loaded. So it's almost like they can do whatever they want.
They're so deep, Russ, that they're going to probably put John Gibson in the AHL next year.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. We're not talking about Gibson being old or anything like that. And I think, again, I watched him play down there, and those teammates love him. Like, they look at him like a god, and he wins at a pretty good clip down there. He had a 2.07 down there, goals against with a 935. I don't think they're going to be upset. He's 21 years old, so I just think this is just a transition thing where right now Anderson's the guy. It could change. They're not going to worry about it. The amazing story for them is what they got out of Patrick Maroon. I mean, this is like left for dead.
To go off of X report that teams are going to go for more defensemen, to go along with Letestu, Aaron Ward from TSN is saying Edmonton is very close to signing Sekera to a long-term deal.
Yeah,
so,
I think that's just about done. And and also, I was just told, actually Brian Lawton tweeted out, and then someone had mentioned this to me earlier today, that there might be a dark horse in on this Kessel thing that can give the Leafs a lot, but they're requiring the Leafs hold on to $3 million of salary. But it's a big return. It's a significant return that really is tempting, is what I was told. So whatever that significant return is, I guess that's we have to look at that's what it all depends on. Like if that return is there, then then maybe you do it.
It's getting to the point of ridiculousness when they have to hold on to $3 million of his. I mean, come on.
Well, they've kind of painted themselves. They painted themselves into this corner themselves, though. I mean, you can't get around that. I mean, they have
not your money. Don't worry about it.
No, and
I'm not.
They're at the point where they have to get rid of it.
It is Mike's money.
Yeah, I just make
I gotta make. Oh shoot! I'll be back.
Okay.
What else?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Russ.
I was gonna say that they do have Max Freeberg, who I got a chance to see again last year, and got up to play a game, and he scored 15 goals last year in Norfolk. He may get a look, And Nick Krediles is getting closer at the age of 21 as being a role player for them too. Those are two forwards that at some point could get inserted. And again, like I said, Patrick Maroon, I mean, who would have thought he'd be playing like on a top line getting 35 points for practically nothing, for peanuts. And so that is why they're able to do what they do. But unless they get solid goaltending, they'll never win the Stanley Cup. They'll always be this team that's close. So Anderson's got to come through for them, or Gibson in a couple of years.
Going back to New Jersey for a second here, because Ray Shero comes in as the GM. To me, it looks like they should be going in the direction of a rebuild. Is there a possibility that they're going to move out guys like Mike Camilleri, guys like Zajac or Henrique, who've been there for a while and really haven't progressed? Well,
I think Henrique has progressed. I think he's come back. I don't think Camilleri is going to get moved. I know Elias isn't getting moved.
Right.
I think they're sort of in this in-between stage where they want some identifiable names in the lineup for people to show up and see while they're sort of retooling around them. So I think it's a retool. I don't think Shero is rebuilding.
I think honestly they missed the boat last trade deadline with the quality of this year's draft. It would have been a great time to sell some of those older players, bottom out, get as close to the top three. I mean, look, they ended up picking 7th in this year's draft. Boy, look at if they got into the top 4, top 3.
They still killed it. They got Blake Spears, they got McKenzie, Blackwood, and they got.
Why are you drafting the goalie in the 2nd round though?
You know what? I hadn't seen enough of Samsonov to put him in my rankings. He was my top-ranked goalie as a result, and I really like the kid. He's a physical freak of nature. I don't mind doing that at all because knowing you have Schneider and he's so young, they can give him 3 to 4 years to develop.
True, maybe you can spin that down the road as another asset, but I mean they just are so void of young forwards with talent in the organization.
Well, they got 2. They got Blake Spears and they got Zacha. Blake Spears is a heck of a scoring guy. I mean, he's 5'11", but he's got a pro wrist shot. I mean, so this is a kid who maybe in 2-3 years can start scoring. I think Zacha will be there in a year.
Pierre LeBrun is reporting San Jose is very much the front runners to land Paul Martin, and it is getting close. So
it's amazing what Paul Martin's still worth these days. That's the amazing part.
Yeah, but to my, we'll get back to the Metro in a second here, but to my estimation, there are 3 defensemen in this market right now that are going to get long-term deals. Cody Franzen, Andres Sekera, and potentially Mike Green, although I don't think he's going to get like a 6-year deal. I think he'll get like a 4 or 5-year deal. But after that, I think you're looking at deals like Boschman getting 3 years, 2 years, 1 year for Ehrhoff. I think it's a bunch of very short-term deals for most of these defensemen, Russ.
Yeah, I think it is. I'm just trying to look up Paul Martin because, like I said, I'm just amazed that there's action on him still. I mean, he's 34 years old. He had 20 points. Okay. I mean, he had a nice year. Plus 17 on Pittsburgh is probably a magic act. So
sorry, not to interrupt. 4-year deal, Paul Martin to the Sharks.
Any amount of money?
No money yet.
Signing him till he's 38 years old. Like, that's just crazy talk.
Okay. So Boschman goes to Colorado for, I think it was 4.5. Is Martin making more than Boschman?
No, the same. He'll make the same.
I actually think if it's 4 years, I think he's probably getting about $4 million. But if he gets more than that, God bless his agent. That's a great job there.
Like I said, he was plus 17 on Pittsburgh, and I'm sure they're using that.
This is my point. This is my point, Russ. If guys in their mid-30s, like Martin and Boschman, are getting 4, 4.5, $5 million, guys like Sekera.
I'm sorry, how old's Dan Boyle? He's getting 4.5 this year. He's 40.
And he's 40 years old. How in the hell?
You're trying to get out of that deal.
How in the hell is Dion Phaneuf's deal at $7 million ridiculous?
Because it's the person. Because it's the person. That's why.
No.
It is.
Yeah. Okay.
It's personality. Teams aren't
100% accurate, Russ. 100% accurate there. Because that's, I mean, it's just, it's a culture thing there,
It is.
He's a bad guy, and it's your fault, Mike.
I honestly think, I'll throw this out there, that even
Thanks,
though,
Dan. I think I'll just go back into the other room and shoot myself. Thank you.
I honestly feel that I would like to see Babcock with Dion Phaneuf and see what happens. I think
it's
that
called
it actually
nuclear explosion.
it could totally. It's going to be fun no matter what happens. It's
right, because if it works, it's a great story. If it doesn't work, it's going to be hilarious.
Right, exactly.
Just what we need from our hockey team. Hilarity. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I went through it for a while. Look at this team.
Oh my goodness. Hold on, I got to chase.
Okay.
But I do think if Phaneuf was a well-liked guy, he'd have been dealt already.
Yeah. Okay, so going back to the Metro, let's talk about the Rangers for a second. They made the Emerson Edom for Carl Hagelin deal. Edom is probably going to make more or make less than Hagelin was going to in arbitration, which is probably the motivation for the deal. I mean, is there any flexibility there with the Rangers to do anything, or are they pretty much going to stand
because they're going to have to re-sign Stepan. They got their backup goalie for a little bit less, so that gave them a little bit of flexibility. They'll probably pick up like a seventh defenseman along the way, because maybe Brady Shea or Matt Bodie or Dylan McElrath. Yeah, I said that with a lot of confidence. We'll vie for that.
You mean that
spot. And McElrath's not going to make it, but he's going to be in the mix, right? And so I think Edom's in a good spot in the sense that he really could show what he's worth now. He's got a lot of speed. He is starting to score a little bit more. He is playing a little bit more physical. That said, the Rangers are going to lose on the PK. I'm sure Edom is capable and fast will take Hagelin's role in the PK, but there's a little bit of a loss there. And Hagelin, the biggest thing that I don't think people are realizing is he may only score 15, 20 goals a year, but they're all even-strength goals. He never gets a sniff on the power play.
Right, that's important.
And that's a big loss. That's where you have to – even-strength goals are much harder to make up, as you know. So, we'll see. But that's why we're not hearing any Ranger rumblings. The beat writers are having fun with just saying that Glenn Sater is, out on the golf course, because he left himself with nothing to maneuver. Like, he's just got to re-sign players. And maybe along the way they'll pick up somebody or have an ATO or invite someone into camp. It'll be like that.
Do you think there's any chance, any scenario that St. Louis comes back even on a one-year deal with incentives?
No, after he said he was misused, and I'll put it in quotes because I kind of laugh at that. It's like, misused, yeah. Vigneault played you too much. And
right. He's lucky he wasn't in the press box. That's how bad he was.
I know, and so, but it just shows you the ego of Marty St. Louis, because imagine he were in the press box. Like, it just, so again, no, there's no chance he's coming back. We heard the Brad Richards rumblings, but the only way they could take him back is if he's like a $1.5 million kind of player. They probably could go over the cap for the summer and figure it out.
Right.
I don't know where they stand today for the cap. Has anybody looked?
Hold on.
Okay.
Where the Rangers stand right now?
Yeah.
Let's see here. I have $12 million in cap space, but they have so many RFAs. Stepan.
Right.
What's the number of RFAs?
Yeah. Stepan, Fast, JT Miller, Edom, Oscar Lindbergh are all RFAs.
What does Stepan get too? He's actually, if I'm him, I ask for. If you see these contracts going around, I ask for some pretty.
Yeah, he's going to get a good number. Mike Green's the next name we're going to be looking at, guys. As far as players moving, it sounds like, and what he's signing.
Here
Detroit's out.
Here you go. Elliot Friedman reporting Sekera done in Edmonton, 6 years, $5.5 million.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, that's a good sign. He's a right-handed defense, right?
Yes.
No. He's with a lot of confidence. That's a good signing.
He's a left, I think.
Okay. He plays the right side, though, I think.
I'll check.
Anyway, regardless, so Mike Green's the next one, and that's
another old defenseman.
And I wonder, I heard that Edmonton's still in the running for a big-time right-handed defenseman, so...
Oh, God.
I don't, but Mike Green, the Devils are a team.
Green's a good guy in the locker room. He'll still score your points.
Yep, the Devils are a team that are in on Mike Green, by the way.
Sekera's a left shooting defense.
Kings are as well, as is man, I just lost it. I completely lost the other team. Shoot, I'll be back. But Kings, I just tweeted it out too. My mind's just totally messed up. All right, so Mike Green's the next one. The Red Wings not in on Mike Green.
All right, well, know what? Mike Green's a little younger than I thought at 29, but he has been banged up. Boy, it's hard. I mean, his last 3 years, the biggest year he had was 45 points. And this year was a little bit of a comeback year. He's dropped off considerably.
Sorry, Buffalo was the other team. Okay.
Yeah. So to me, it's hard. He's not an elite defenseman anymore. He's not.
No, he's not. And but maybe he counters that offensive. Remember, he was a completely one-dimensional defenseman.
Right.
And his defensive game has gotten slightly better now.
He's a great skater still.
Yeah, I mean, he sort of reminds me in a sense of what Phil Housley was early in his career. I mean, he was strictly an offensive puck-rushing defenseman, and then as he got older, he started to learn you have to play a little bit of defense, and he was adequate defensively. That's all Green has to be effective.
Yeah, the only difference is Phil Housley, when Green was scoring 80 points, Housley was doing that every year, or he wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, right? But the fall off with Green is what I worry about because of the concussions and the other injuries he had.
Right.
And so, even last 2 years he's played 70 and 72 games, and he's had 2 of his lowest point totals, counting his career years. So it's worrisome. It really.
Let's just finish up on the Rangers here. Do you think there was some talk about them moving Keith Yandle on, but I don't see that since his cap hit is so favorable for this last year of his contract. Do you see them being able to find a taker for Dan Boyle, or do they keep him? And what do you think Stepan's money is going to be?
All right. Well, first question is I would have thought they would have tried a taker for Nash, but I guess they didn't. So we scratched that. Dan Boyle's got a no trade. So
Neuwirth to the Flyers is done.
Okay. So Dan Boyle, the fact that he's got a no trade at the age of 40, why would he leave New York?
How does that happen? Who gives him? Why would you give him a no trade clause?
Again, go ask Glenn Sader. So
and also Furleek and the Calgary Flames is the new.
I could see that he's their type of player.
Yeah,
I could see that. Actually, that's a better signing for them than if they were to get a guy like Bolesky. At least Furleek plays great defense. But getting back to it, so Boyle's a no trade. He's not going anywhere. He's retiring on Broadway. So the curtain will go down on him sometime this year if it didn't go down already. And then
he's retiring on Broadway like Cheetah Rivera. There you go.
Right. And then Stepan, he's probably going to ask for $5.5, $6 million a year for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
And the problem is he is not a number one defenseman, but they've thrust him into the role, and now he's sort of. It's like anything else. If you've been put into a job, like a government job, and you've worked that job for a year, now that is what you are categorized as. Your grade, everything. That's what you are. So he is going to match himself, his agent will, up against other number one centers, what they're making, whether he's a number one center or not. Now that doesn't mean he's not a really good player, because he is. Teams would kill for him, but he's so much of a better number two. He just is. And so at the end of the day, he's got, I think, $5.5, 6 is what he's going to get.
Colorado signs Blake Como to a 3-year contract, no money as of yet. That's just
very
depth forward signing. Good. Yeah. Quality player.
I'm sure Dan has something to say about Blake Como.
Yeah, no. $2.4 million per season.
Dan had nothing. Dan, you have nothing on Blake Como? Come on, Dan.
Oh, I got plenty on Blake Como. I just can't say some of this on this podcast. You know what? No one. Look, he did good when he left the Islanders. He's had some decent years with some other team, with 20 other teams. But no one would go into the zone, not look to pass, dangle on their backhand, and turn the puck over at the blue line better than Blake Como.
Okay, so he's known for something. There you go.
Okay.
He used to infuriate me.
The only question I have about the Islanders here, Dan, is you've got 3 guys who are pending unrestricted free agents after this season.
Yep.
Grabner, Alfonso, and Ron Nielsen. We've heard Opoza in trade talk. Do you think that they're going to move or try to find Nielsen or Grabner or any of these other guys, or are they just going to keep them?
They tried to move Grabner at the draft, and there weren't any takers. I think that's someone who, they'll see what they get with him because he just hasn't been able to stay healthy. And has last year, even when he was playing, he was playing hurt, and if he's not at his top speed, he's kind of a flawed player. So he's not in their long-term future. Oposo's a very tricky one. He wants to be paid as a top-line forward. He's shown with Tavares he can be a point-a-game player, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy over the past couple of years. And with the way this money's getting thrown around, he's going to probably look for somewhere between $6 and $7 million. So that's a tough decision. I could see that going either way. I could see them trading him, and I could see them committing to him. But he needs to stay healthy. He needs to have a 70-point season to be in that conversation. As for Nielsen, he's a nice security blanket, but he's like 32, 33. He's probably going to want a 4 or 5 year deal. I don't mind paying him $4 million a year. I don't know if they commit to him for 4 or 5 years, which is what he'll get from one of the teams needing a center. So another tricky situation too. And they have so many centers on the roster that he could be expendable too.
Any difficulty getting Brock Nelson signed off an RFA?
No, they're going to get him signed. I think he'll be less than a similar deal to Lee, but a little bit less.
Okay. Philadelphia.
I got a signing. Steve Downey to the Coyotes.
Hey, they need to spend money.
What was that?
Steve Downey to the Coyotes.
Oh Lord! Are we guys? Let's log out again because our echo's come back, and I will talk Downey. Yeah, good old Steve Downey. I hope things work out for Steve. He's got the concussion.
Echo's gone here.
Yeah, you're still there, right?
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. Echo, hello.
Nope.
I'm okay.
Okay, we sound okay right now. Echo, sometimes we just have to reboot. I'll reboot next time I go off on a phone call.
Okay.
Yeah. So Downey to Arizona. That was what was happening.
I didn't see any money here, so we'll just let me check.
Or is it Toronto?
No. Steve Downey?
Yeah.
Per Sportsnet, Steve Downey signed with Arizona.
Okay.
That's from Dave Molinari.
Got it.
But I had no detail of how much money as of yet.
All right, so I'm hearing PA Parento could perhaps be heading to Toronto,
though. Sorry.
Only if it's a 1-year deal. That's the only way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Leafs are closing in on a 1-year deal with PA Parent. That is strictly a turnaround. Hope he scores 10, 15 goals and flip him for a draft pick. I like
Mike, your headline has to be you can't spell pain without PA.
Okay, where's my drum? Where's my rim shot here? Hold on.
Just saying.
But you know what? This is a big day for agents because they could get a guy who normally nobody really wants to interviewed on Sportsnet now while there's this big lull. And so, like, he's going to call in from his phone from anywhere because, like, his agent's like, listen, get the TV time, man.
And you know who's booking those interviews? Our very own Josh Rimmer.
Yep.
Who's at Sportsnet today booking interviews for them to get guys on the air.
Yep. Mark Letestu, get him off the mini golf course. Get him out there because, you know what?
Yeah. I don't think, like I said, I expected these kind of signings for the Leafs. It's just they make sense. You sign a guy for 1 year, if you can get him to score, if you can get him to perform well, then
getting him a year when now his value is down because now the shootout is marginalized.
Right.
Well, right. But I mean, I'm just saying, like.
I heard Austin Matthews is supposed to be really good.
Yeah, but you're not using him right away.
Yeah, boy.
All
okay.
Right.
Anyway,
conference team, maybe leading for Kessel. That was another.
Can we just get this over with?
Oh, I'd love to. I'd love to. That would be.
Please.
I know. Should we call him the player that we cannot name, like the player that shall not be? I just don't want to say the name anymore.
Beetlejuice.
And it's not a terrible name. I mean, it's one L from being a very good name, but it's not a terrible name. It's just Kessel is, it's it's just, it is what it is.
It's just a brand now that you don't want to buy.
Right. And the Western Conference team, could possibly be the Predators, I was told. So I'm looking into that. They've been, as of 2 days ago, they weren't anywhere close to this. So I mean, I don't know. I'm going to call the Preds up again. I'll get back.
Well, I mean, I've been saying that for a while that I mean the Preds and Kessel makes the most sense because they were in on Kessel back when the Leafs traded for him in go ahead, what? You muted yourself.
It sounds like Kessel to the Penguins might be done.
Not done. Nothing's done.
No, I'm serious.
Oh, Sportsnet says it's done. It's done.
It's done.
It's done. Okay, let's see what we're getting here. Okay.
Oh, Mike, let's prepare for Mike's disappointed face.
No. They're getting rid of Phil Kessel. That's all that needs to be done. Now they just have to get some prospects. I mean, if the Leafs get some good prospects for him, I'm a happy man. I think this is a good deal. But we'll see. I mean, all this crap about them wanting to keep him and work with Mike Babcock, it was just, Well,
they wanted to get him moved. We know they wanted to get him moved.
Right, but I think it was all, and I really think that all this stuff was a concerted media, campaign by the Leafs through the media to say, oh, we don't need to trade him.
Let's see when the players roll in. That's going to be the interesting part.
Yeah, Kessel traded to the Pens. Now let's see what it is.
That's the part we're not going to find out for a little while.
Yeah.
Riley Nash agrees to 1-year deal with the Hurricanes. Sorry.
Let's talk about that now. Let's go into the Nash thing.
Wait a second. Riley Nash for Phil Kessel?
Let's just talk about. I mean, Nash is so much more interesting to me.
I couldn't help myself. I had to. I keep hitting refresh here, and that's what popped up.
Wow, that's
Can we say that I had it? I split seconds before Sportsnet. Can we throw that out there?
Sure.
Yeah.
Even though people who are watching this, I think it's delayed like 10 seconds. So
let's make the prediction. Is Ole Mata included in this deal? Yes or no, Russ?
Yes.
And you should be ecstatic.
And my prediction is $2 million is also included.
Get Ole Mata, you should be thrilled. I don't see how the Penguins can afford to give up Ole Mata.
I'm skeptical. I think it's going to end up being.
TSN right now is interviewing. I have them on. They're interviewing Francois Beauchemin. They have not yet announced this trade. I'd be like, okay, Francois, that's awesome.
I heard the producers like rap.
Because Dan, you produce these kind of shows.
I heard somebody yesterday say, well, we wanted to make sure it was right. We didn't want to make sure we were first. Baloney. You want to be first. They all want to be first.
Here's what's happening in the control room. Like, for example, like I would be saying to Duthie, okay, rap, we got to move here. And then knowing how anchors work, they don't listen to you and they follow up, and then you do one of these, I said rap! That's usually what happens. That's usually what happens in the control room.
Okay. So there's a lot of pent-up anger in the control room.
Well, no, when you're blatantly ignored by your anchors, which happens at least 4 or 5 times a day.
Yeah, that's pretty. This has got to be a funny moment because,
Could Bo Bennett be in this deal?
I would take Bo Bennett if it was. I think that's a legit name to be in there. Yeah.
All right, so we're going to see Phil Kessel and Sidney Crosby together. I mean, that's pretty exciting. I mean, that's going to be fun.
No, that's going
to back signs with Arizona.
That's going to cause some matchup problems for teams around the league.
The Leafs wanted to get over draft picks. They wanted to get young players like 20, 21 who are ready to step into the NHL. So to me, that's Pouliot or Harrington or Kapanen or Mata. It's got to be one or two of those guys in this deal.
I can guarantee Kapanen's in the deal because they seem to not be sold on him for some reason. So I would almost guarantee Kapanen's in the deal. And then it's a matter of Harrington or Pouliot or Mata. And if it's me, I'm dealing on Pouliot because I'm not sold on Pouliot. I never have been. And Mata already sold me, but
right. But the thing is, Russ, and we can say this before this happens. Mata, they played. He had the cancer scare last year. He had
there are many parts in this deal. I was just texted. This is not small. There are many parts in this. So
okay, I have known nothing about this. I would think that. The Flames have signed Michael Frolik, according to Sportsnet.
Yeah.
I would think that if Mata is in this deal, that Roman Polak is going back to Pittsburgh because
I got one here. Well, Elliot Freeman reporting Kapanen, Harrington, and a pick.
That's it?
That's it. That's what Freeman says as of.
Oh, Mike, get your crying towel out.
As
Wow.
of Nick Kiprios reported, Kessel for Kapanen, Harrington, and a pick.
Wow.
I don't have a problem with it.
But did they take the whole contract?
I don't know. So.
But even if they did, that return is lousy. I'm sorry. That's a lousy return.
No.
We predicted this. I mean, we talked about this yesterday. There was no way that the return wasn't going to be lousy for Phil Kessel. Like, there was no way at the end of the day people weren't going to say that. It wasn't like Toronto was going to. People were going to suddenly say, "Wow, Toronto got so much for Phil Kessel."
It's got to be a first-round pick, right?
It has to be. If it's not, Pittsburgh wins this, going even with the contract.
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, be angry. Mike, be angry.
Mike,
I'm not angry.
You're like the March of the Wooden Soldiers right off the pier. I mean,
I'm not angry at all. Not at all.
It's addition by subtraction, according to what we've been hearing, right? So
Kapanen, Harrington, and a first-round pick for Kessel.
Okay.
That's what Sportsnet is reporting.
That's a very Rutherford pulled off a very good deal there.
I was told there's that's not the complete deal.
If I were Toronto, at least get Matt Murray, at least get a young goalie in the deal. Do something.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
This is. I'm not
trading bell.
I'm not upset at all. I think this is great.
It is not great.
It is great.
It is not.
I'm going to eat a banana.
This needs to be blown up.
But
this
it's not
needs
blown up. I mean, Kapanen's a good player, right? I mean, Russ, talk about that.
No, I mean, Kapanen has potential, but he's years away. I mean, he's probably 2 years away.
And so are the Leafs.
He does have
3 years away.
Yeah, he's playing with men. I get all that. But Pittsburgh, for some reason, had some trepidation about Kapanen. And so, I don't know what that part of the equation is, and I don't get to see him enough to know if there's something there, where they saw, they said, he's not going to be a Pittsburgh guy for long term. I don't know. So
let's wait till we get a final outcome here on this deal, because I mean,
how are they going to pay the rest of their team?
There's got to be something else here. I mean,
they got $40 million going to Kessel, Malkin, Crosby, Letang, and Fleury.
That's
what I'm wondering is, I mean, what I'm interested in is the full extent of the deal and if Toronto is eating money.
Right.
Now, if Carolina and Arizona can take on bad contracts right now,
so Toronto.
Kapanen did have 5 points in 7 playoff games. They had a good run in Scranton. All that said, we'll see. I mean, he's probably 2 years away. He's 18 years old. There's no way, he's coming up anytime soon. So they got something there for sure. I mean, because, he's a potential something.
I've heard some salary has been retained. Hold on.
Well, they didn't take back Kunitz.
No,
that was the speculation that they would have to take back Kunitz or they would have to take back Scuderi.
Well, the talk on Twitter going right now that this is a good fit for Pittsburgh because Kessel has the physique of a Penguin.
Enough of that. I mean,
I know. I just read what someone wrote. That's it.
Wow. 30 goals regardless. Who cares?
Yeah, imagine if he tried.
Right.
Oh my God.
I'm telling you. Here's the thing. If you're Toronto, get Matt Murray. He had a 1.58 last year with Scranton, and he had a 941 save percentage. Get a goalie who just needs to put on weight because he's 171 pounds and 6'5". Now he might be a little more. It might be 180 now. But this kid's got potential. They already have Tristan Jarry. Toronto needs goalies in the system. They do. Get one.
Needs goalies?
Yes.
I mean, they don't think so. They think they have. I mean, they like Antoine Bibeau.
I like Antoine Bibeau too, but Matt Murray's 6'5". I'd rather have a 6'5" guy than a 6'1" or 6 foot guy. What is Bibeau? 6'1", 6'2"?
I don't know how much future they think Christopher Gibson has, but
forget him. Forget.
Yeah, but they seem to be wanting to stick with Jonathan Bernier. They're going to probably sign him to a 2 or 3 year deal, and he's only 26 years old. So, Sportsnet just posted Harrington, Kapanen, and a pick, and if the pick is a first rounder, I have no problem with that. Let the teardown begin. This is, I mean, honestly, this is, you get yourself a young forward asset, a young defensive prospect. I would have preferred Mata over Harrington, but yeah, I mean, obviously, Mata is, I think Harrington is a usable defenseman. I think Mata is a potential all-star. So, but they, with their defensive situation, of course they were. I was saying for a few days they're not going to give up Mata. No way.
It just made no sense.
But if this is the full extent of the deal, if it's Kapanen, Harrington, and a number 1 for Kessel, the only thing I'm interested in now is how much money the Leafs are retaining, and if they're retaining a couple $1 million, I would have thought that the return that they would get would be a little better. But I think that this is the signal move that the teardown has begun. Now you can see, there was talk from Darren Drager this morning that the Leafs were potentially going to trade Tyler Bozak to the Arizona Coyotes, that they were interested in Bozak, and you could see that move happen.
Right.
But,
And you do realize you're not getting any offense out of Harrington. That's not his game.
No, I know. I'm talking, you're talking about an NHL, a guy who's going to be a capable NHL defenseman, but not. They don't need offense. They have offense on defense with Morgan Riley and Jake Gardner, and if they keep Phaneuf is an offensive defenseman more than he's a defensive one.
I'm telling you, just get a goalie to throw in, because Bibeau and Bernier is still not enough to run an organization on goalies. It's not.
Yeah, this is. I still want to hear the full extent of this deal. They're operating in generalities here right now. So,
there's a lot of stuff. The other thing, Russ, just as a side, a different topic for a second. Were you kind of surprised? I just got a text from somebody about this. I didn't realize the Flyers fired their goalie scout.
No, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, I heard this, and then they
Hextall just taking assuming full responsibility for everything that goes on with the Flyers and just getting in his own guys. I don't think that's a big deal.
Yeah, but it comes after a draft where they drafted 3 goalies.
It's like anything else. They got his sheet. They put it on the board.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service. The guy did his job. You do your job, and then, all right, we're going to move in a different direction now. That's fine. That happens.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Sorry, getting back to Kessel, though.
The Kessel jokes right now are just hilarious. The happiest people at Pittsburgh are Permani brothers.
Jeez.
They have that great hamburger place right across from the rink. But honestly, I don't think Kessel jokes are fair, because
they're not.
I honestly like Phil Kessel a lot. I've had great experiences with him, and also, my favorite Phil Kessel memory was when he was about the time he was getting totally ripped to shreds by the Toronto media, and everybody was all over him. I was covering the U.S. Olympic team when they were training before they were going to Sochi. At the training session, I went down to Washington. I was down there watching him, and I remember Phil Kessel playing street hockey with a bunch of kids out front, like in front of the facility. He just got out there and he was playing with them. And people were looking for him. He was like, "Oh, he's out there playing street hockey," and he was having a blast. He was cracking up. The kids were cracking up. They were loving it, and it was just like, you just definitely saw a different side to this guy that's been so crazily pounded by the media. He's just not a media guy,
Right. I think he's an introvert too. It doesn't make him a bad person.
But he's not a bad guy, and he's and he really, I think, considering everything that's happened, has handled himself pretty darn well. Until last year, when he started to definitely crumble, but that I think most of us would have crumbled long before that, based on what was happening.
Yeah, Yuri Laterra signed a 3-year extension with the Blues.
Okay. So now watch what happens with Oshie. Now that Kessel's traded, right. Oshie's suddenly going to take center stage.
Do you think that happens today?
Yeah, I definitely do.
Do you think it's Long Island or Brooklyn?
I think they're in it. I think they're definitely in it. I think
Anders Lindbach to Arizona for 1 year, $875,000.
Okay. There you go. That's following the Buffalo Sabres method of tanking and trading for Anders Lindbach.
Although he did his best to prevent the tank because he played it great down the stretch. Steve Downey, we had Arizona, but $1.75 million for 1 year for Steve Downey. That strikes me as like we have to get to the cap floor, so we'll give him a little extra. The contract on Michael Frolik, per Bob McKenzie, 5 years, $4.3 million AAV for Frolik.
Not bad.
Calgary. Not bad. Not bad at all.
All right. I just
Okay.
the text that the Wild are talking to the Islanders about Okposo.
Yeah, I've heard that. So they've been talking since he was drafted by.
I know
by
for
the Islanders.
years because he's really good friends with Ryan Suter and Zach Parise. I mean, they're the three of them.
They went to Parise and Okposo played in high school together, or Shattuck St. Mary's.
I mean, they're always hanging out together in the offseason, so it's not surprising.
Vancouver signed Barkowski to a 1-year deal.
Ah, interesting.
So some of those teams are getting filled up now.
Yeah.
We still have not heard a definite, etched in stone, this is the deal here.
Right.
Just that he's been traded and those are the parameters, but there might be something.
Yeah.
I'm happy for him. I'm happy for Phil Kessel. I mean, he's got to be happy today.
He deserves a fresh start.
I'm happy
he gets to go to a team where he really, that city is the perfect city for him in a lot of ways.
It's gonna be a perfect scenario for Kessel in the sense that Crosby and Malkin are going to be the guys who people want to talk to. Malkin doesn't talk that much, but Crosby and Malkin are the stars, and Kessel can sort of slip underneath and just be the guy who scores goals, and that'll be fine with him. And he could very easily score 40 to 45 goals with Sidney Crosby or Evgeny Malkin at center. But I'm telling you right now, this is a great move for the Maple Leafs.
Hearing that the Wild are offering Nino Niederreiter and Thomas Van.
Niederreiter and Thomas Van.
I'm kidding. Two guys who left Long Island in a really bad situation.
Right.
No, I don't think so. No.
Wow. You gotta make a call on this Wild thing. I'll be right back.
Okay.
After that, I'm heating up lunch, but I'll give you a minute.
Okay, Bob McKenzie is reporting it is a first-round pick, Kapanen and Harrington for Kessel.
Okay.
So
that lunch isn't going to be as giddy as it could have been.
I'm honestly, for Maple Leaf fans, I think they're ecstatic.
Let's see. I'm going to go test that. Let's see. I think you're ecstatic. I don't think they're all ecstatic.
I think they're ecstatic. I'm telling you right now. I think this is could they have, did they get themselves a no doubt, top flight prospect?
One no doubt guy in there. That's the problem.
Right. And more than likely the Pittsburgh pick is going to be in the bottom 5, bottom 10 of the first round next year. But now the Maple Leafs have Pittsburgh's first and second round picks next year, and they have their own first and second round picks next year. So they have 4 picks in the first 2 rounds in the 2016 draft.
Yeah, that part's good if they bottom out and they can get Austin Matthews or one of those Chychrun or one of those top kids.
Yeah.
Then it'll be worthwhile. But again, we'll see.
Or the Finnish kid, is it Puljujärvi? I think his name is.
Yeah.
Which would go along well with Kapanen, the other Finn who they just picked up. So.
All right, now here's Steve Dangle Glynn wrote, yeah, but what else did the Leafs get for Kessel? See, I mean, I'm telling you, that's.
Yeah, but I like Steve.
Kapanen's a nice prospect. He really is.
I like nice prospect, but he's
not
like a highfalutin guaranteed prospect.
Right. Russ, I like Steve, but Steve, everything with Steve is tongue in cheek.
I get it. It is tongue-in-cheek. But I'm also seeing other quotes from people they still were looking to get a little bit more on a return.
Right back.
Well, I mean, I get that, but we still
somebody included the bag of pucks joke, another radio show out of Toronto.
Yeah, and we still haven't heard what the salary ram. I mean, honestly, right now, if we find out that the Leafs didn't have to retain anything. Then this is a grand slam home run.
Yeah, it's not a grand slam.
Well, no, I'm just saying in the sense that if they can get young assets and a first round pick and not retain any of his $8 million salary, then this is a grand slam.
Yeah, but they're retaining some. They'd already said. I already saw here that they're retaining.
It sounds like they are, but there's mixed signals on this. Because everybody knows that was a big part of this deal was that Penguin said you have to retain money, but I'm getting mixed signals on it as far as whether that actually happened or not.
Yeah.
What about Rick Nash, Russ? I mean, that's the one I really want to. I mean, that's another one I've heard about a lot.
It seems dead, and it seems dead now.
Seems dead, but I still hear Detroit, is probably the best or most likely candidate there.
I mean, it would make sense. They have guys to trade.
Right.
But to me, it seems dead. I know you're hearing stuff. I don't hear anything, but I'm just guessing,
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't have to happen today, so it's one of those type of deals,
Here's the other thing. Okay, so here, let me play devil's advocate. So apparently Nashville was in on Kessel, and I would imagine they would have gotten better prospects out of Nashville because they just have better prospects.
Yeah. Yeah, they have a lot better prospects. And they could have, they could have gotten somebody like Ekholm or something like that.
Right. I mean, they could have, they could have, gotten someone like that. Maybe they could have gotten Ryan Ellis. I mean, there were better prospects to be had there, but Nashville would never retain any money, and that's what lets me know that Pittsburgh had to retain, that Pittsburgh is taking a fair amount of money because Nashville would take the least amount possible. You know that.
Completely. No, that's 100% true. I agree. And
but the Leafs are keeping money here too. Don't think that they lost that whole deal. There's no way.
Yeah, I can't. I mean, keeping $2 million is not the end of the world. I mean,
and the bonus. And the bonus. They're paying that $4 million bonus too.
Well, they definitely paid the bonus. There's no question about that.
Right.
But then keeping the $2 million, I don't know, keeping $2 million a year, I don't think is that big of a deal on a team that doesn't really want to be good. They're not going to be pushing to the cap anyway.
Right.
So if they get a deal that they, in Kapanen, they do get another good young player.
They do.
The main thing is they get rid of this excuse and this distraction.
Hold on a second. Darren Drager is reporting Kessel trade could be bigger, hearing Nick Spaulding involved, and Pittsburgh also gets Toronto's second-round pick next year.
Yeah, there's definitely more to this.
Boy, they better not do that. That's not a smart move.
Why? What?
Well, I mean, Spaulding's a decent player, but he's not going to turn into a big-time offensive player. He's a good all-around player. He's a good skater. He's NHL quality, but now you're giving up a second-round pick. I think Nick Spaulding was taken with a second or a third-round pick just as an example. Like, to me,
that could be the salary dump.
Could be.
He's $2.2 million, and he's an unrestricted free agent at the end of next year. So again, there's another short-term guy that they flip at the deadline, and maybe get their maybe get a third-round pick back. The thing is that, as I said before, Toronto has got Pittsburgh's second-round pick from the Daniel Winnick deal. So
yeah, he was a second-rounder, Spaulding. I mean,
we have Ty Anderson.
If they have to do it, they have to do it, right?
Hey, Ty, you just walked into a Phil Kessel deal.
I know. I'm happy to join the Phil Kessel Variety Hour. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's ending soon, Ty. Hopefully.
Yeah, we're still getting the details of the deal. Right now, it appears to be Kasperi Kapanen, Scott Harrington, and a number one, but Drager is reporting the deal could be bigger, involving Nick Spaulding and the Leafs' second-round pick. So we're still seeing how the deal unfolds and whether the Leafs are retaining any salary. But what are your thoughts on Crosby and Kessel together?
I mean, I think it's a fantastic 1-2 punch. Might be the best in hockey. I mean, you have to see how they mesh, of course, but this is up there with Backstrom and Ovechkin as far as I'm concerned in terms of getting a strong winger with a shot like Kessel for Crosby. It was an obvious key for the Penguins, I think. Kunitz and Dupuis have been great for Crosby over the past few years, but clearly he needed a stronger shot, especially on the right side, I think, and Kessel is that. I mean, when I look at this market, it was Kessel through a trade or Alexander Semin, and both have some red flags to their name according to who you talk to. But I think based on where they're at right now, the Leafs, the Pens are better off with Kessel than they are Semin.
Yeah, and see, this is the thing. I think this is a good deal for the direction that the Penguins are in right now, and a good deal for the direction the Leafs want to go in right now, because the Penguins, I think, are a win-now team. They need the scorer. They traded James Neal. They needed that scoring winger to put with one of either Crosby or Malkin. So they needed that score, and I think Kessel fills that role. They gave up young assets. Kapanen is a former first-round pick who is 19. Harrington has been down in Wilkes-Barre Scranton for a couple years, and from all indications is an NHL capable defenseman. They get a first-round pick. They may be eating some salary. We don't know. We're getting the details on that. But the thing is, the Leafs can now. This is the jump start of the teardown. You are now committed. Now you probably will see. I don't know if you're going to see Phaneuf move, but you may see Bozak moved. You may see Lupul moved in coming weeks. It is now real. This talk of the hybrid rebuild and them not doing anything and letting these guys play with Mike Babcock, it's a bunch of bunk. Go ahead, Dan.
8%. Drager's reporting Toronto eating 15% of the contract.
15% of $8 million. Okay. That's 25% would have been too much. So you're talking 1.25, something like that, I think. Let me just break out my calculator here just to see.
Also hearing the Islanders Oshie talks not going away, and Islanders kicking tires on Patrick Sharp as well.
That I've heard for a bit with Patrick Sharp.
I have too. It seems to be picking up steam again.
Yeah.
So the Leafs
the perfect fit for them.
I agree.
It's $1.2 million. 15% is $1.2 million.
Okay.
That's nothing.
Yeah, no, that really isn't anything. I also want to throw this out there. I was just told, and Ty just showed up in the perfect amount of time for this, that I could add Boston to the Mike Green sweeps. Have you heard this one, Ty?
Yeah, it's been sort of floated out there a bit. Obviously, Green would probably be the perfect replacement for Dougie Hamilton. Money is going to be the biggest issue, of course. The Bruins probably can't pay him that $6 million price tag at the Caps for the past 3 years. But, I mean, if you're looking for mobility on your back end, he's a right shot. He can slide right in that second power play unit. Green would be the perfect addition to the Bruins. If not Green, I think Cody Franzen would be on the guy they could look at. But yeah, no, the Green talk seems to be sort of up on the uptick here in Boston. But again, I mean, with everything happening, it all comes back down to price for this team.
Right. No, for sure. So TSN's, I guess, did you guys do the official deal? TSN's got it up now. Phil Kessel, 2 prospects for Kapanen, and they just took it off there. So anyway, there you go.
Yeah, it's still not. I mean, we had that thing from Drager saying that it might be a bigger deal, and so far,
I think there's 2 draft picks going back. In other words, not just one.
2 draft picks along with
Kapanen and Harrington.
Okay, so we'll see. Yeah,
Enroth to the Kings.
Enroth
to the Kings.
Yep.
Barrett Jackman signs with Nashville.
Yep.
$2 million per for 2 years. That's a good
signing.
Yeah.
After all the money being thrown around today, that's pretty good. That seems like what it should be.
Yeah. Teams that get deals that are like realistic, they really have an advantage over. What I want to see now is, okay, now that Kessel's been moved, Eck was saying Oshie, but what I want to see is, what happens with Sharp.
Yep.
And where Bolesky goes and how much Bolesky goes for.
It's like the Bolesky bag contract watch.
Yes. I mean, this is honestly, I said it before. Matt Bolesky is the David Clarkson of this free agent pool.
Oh yeah, I mean, somebody's got to do it, and you know things are bad when he rejects that contract from Anaheim. I believe it was $16 million for over 4 years. I mean, that's a good deal for a guy whose previous career high in goals was 11. So I think that someone's going to pay him. They're going to regret it. We seem to hear a lot about Montreal maybe being that team. I mean, Marc Bergevin's been such a great GM. It's hard for me to imagine him doing this. But, I mean, I just know that this is going to be a bad contract. It's going to be universally laughed at. So we'll see there. But this is a guy that I think, you hear about the Bruins and how they might want a left winger with some size to replace Milan Lucic. I don't think Matt Bolesky is that guy. I don't think Brian Bickle is that guy. But for sure there will be a market for Bolesky based on these teams that are trying to hit the home run with Patrick Sharp, or the teams that may have lost out on Phil Kessel. We know there was more than a couple involved there. So he's an option out there, but again, buyer beware.
Right.
Just told that that Larry Robinson is the big reason that Paul Martin ended up in San Jose, which makes some sense.
Okay.
Obviously the connections back to New Jersey with Paul Martin, Larry Robinson.
4 years have a lot to do with it too.
Right. And the money.
Just a bit.
Of course. There's always the money. But Okposo also, I was told, is only going to get moved if they get Oshie. So it's that's the situation there. They're not going to move Okposo unless they get Oshie. So those two are connected together.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see here. See the latest stuff that's. We had Jackman. We had Kari Ramo re-signing with Calgary for 1 year at $3.8 million. So he didn't.
I like that deal.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this was the worst year to be a free agent goaltender.
Yep.
I mean, the market was so flooded with goal. I mean, there was not one goalie who was like a step above. I mean, I know the Bruins. I mean, we were very heavy critics of Don Sweeney on draft weekend, but the turnaround, getting a first-round pick in a Martin Jones deal, I think. I mean that was a. I mean, look at the return that they ended up getting for Milan Lucic. They get a first-round pick, Colin Miller, and Martin Jones. They flip Jones to San Jose for a first and another prospect. So they got 2 prospects and 2 firsts for 1 year of Milan Lucic, and they're paying half of his salary. I mean, that is a pretty good move by Don Sweeney.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the big thing with Sweeney, it seems, has been there's high highs and low lows. You know, with the Hamilton trade, everyone hated it. Lucic trade, people were on board. The draft picks, people weren't crazy about them, which I don't really think is fair to the kids, but you know, whatever. And then they trade for Ronaldo, people hate that. And then they flip Jones, and people love this trade. So it's almost like you're waiting for the other shoe to drop now in a negative light. You're waiting for that bad contract or that bad trade because, I mean, I can tell you this, in 6 days of active, maneuvering, Don Sweeney has been almost impossible to read in terms of what his plans are for this team. Between the Ronaldo acquisition and flipping Jones for a pick, it's tough to read where they're going. They absolutely need a backup goaltender. It's a position they clearly don't want to spend that much money on, though, which is why Jones is not here, first of all. But I think that's a big thing for the Bruins. It's the thin market when it comes to backup goaltending, especially with Enroth, Lindbach, and Ramo even off the board. So you look at a guy like Ray Emery, maybe Jonas Gustafsson. I wrote about him today, saying that he was very injury prone last year between his shoulder and concussion issues, but he played well when he was in net for Detroit. So this could be a fallback option for a lot of teams. In their AHL system, they have Jeremy Smith, who's never played in the NHL level, but he had a pretty strong year in a platoon role for Providence. So, but the Bruins are not alone in their hunt for backup goaltending. It seems everybody needs one right now. They're going to get into a bidding war, unfortunately, and it's not a position they necessarily want to spend a lot of money on.
Yeah, another signing announced, another Arizona Coyote signing. You would think with all these signings to Arizona that was actually a destination that people want to go to. Zbynek Michalek returneth to the Arizona Coyotes. 2 years, $3.2 million per. So there you go. He's pretty much I don't know if he's a 3-4 defenseman. He's been there before. He's a known commodity. He's a guy that he'll be there for a year and then they'll trade him next year when he's got 1 year left in his contract. It's wash, rinse, repeat with Zbynek Michalek. I mean, we know what he is. He's a known commodity, and not a bad signing and not a bad cap hit. But I mean, right now everything that Arizona does is we got to get to the cap floor. So let's sign this guy.
This is just a sign of the KHL crumbling, right? Everybody's running back now.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, Michalek. I mean, he didn't go to the KHL, did he? I thought he went to St. Louis.
Actually, I don't know where he's been, but
he was in St. He was in St. Louis. Yeah. Which some people was like going to the KHL. Just kidding. Okay.
I didn't notice him in St. Louis, but I got you.
Okay, Nick Spaulding is part of the Kessel deal according to Sportsnet now. So this deal is which is $1.2 million. That's
pretty good.
That's pretty good. That's not crippling. Leafs send 2 non-roster players. Okay, so this is a bigger deal.
Ooh.
Leafs also send 2 non-roster.
Is it Mitch Marner?
Yeah, no. No. How about Tyler Biggs and Colton Orr? Now we don't know. Again, we don't know the full.
Colton Orr non-roster at this point. He doesn't even have an AHL deal.
Who?
Orr.
No, he's a UFA. He's a UFA.
I wonder if they put him on the board for Rogers. I guess not.
The Oilers may be in on Don Fair.
Eric Fair.
Eric Fair, sorry. They might be
Elliot Friedman is reporting that the Winnipeg Jets have agreed to terms to Alexander Burmistrov on a 2-year contract.
Really?
Wow.
Which means that the whole problem with him was Claude Noel, because they were like fire and gasoline.
Or Michael Frolik.
Well, yeah. I mean, Frolik opening certainly helped him. I mean, again, KHL is not lasting forever. He decides he wants to come back, give it another go. I'm just surprised Winnipeg is the team to give him the go. I thought they were going to trade his rights.
Hey, the KHL is crumbling when Kirill Petrov signs with the Islanders. They drafted him 8 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we're still not getting the full extent of this deal. So I mean, there's a report. No, I'm not going to report that because.
Report it.
No. It's from a questionable source. So I'm not.
Is it the fake Ty Anderson account?
So an E at the end, like time again. It's very deceptive.
Yeah, I love it. I saw that. I couldn't stop laughing.
TYE. There you go.
That's great.
Greg Patterin has signed a 2-year extension with the Montreal Canadiens. Don't everybody have a heart attack?
I don't know if you guys touched on it, but Matt Barkowski is with the Vancouver Canucks now.
Yeah, $1.75 million for 1 year for Bartkowski.
There's value there. There is value there. He never quite got the chance that he deserved in Boston, I feel. He was always on a really short leash when it came to his defensive mistakes. But you got to remember, he's 26 years old. Those are going to happen, especially when you're a career, you're sort of an AHLer for a very long time, and then you're asked to just jump into the NHL and become a top 4 defenseman. It just simply doesn't happen. So the Bruins are a bit impatient with him, but I think overall there is some skill to his game. He's quicker with the puck. He's not the worst. He still hasn't scored a goal though. I think he's now 100 and something games in his career without scoring a goal. But that could be a nice pickup for the Canucks, especially given their cap situation and where they are as a franchise. If he puts up some strong numbers, the team struggles. They could probably sell high on him at the deadline.
$1.25 million for Jonas Enroth with Los Angeles. That's a pretty good number and a pretty good backup goaltender for Jonathan Quick, and he can step in a situation.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah, that's a good move, and it's funny, Ty. Apparently, the LA Kings were not too happy with the Bruins because the one thing they wanted to do was prevent Martin Jones from going to San Jose. They were fearful of the offer sheet from San Jose for Martin Jones, and they trade him to Boston, and Boston flips him to San Jose.
Yeah.
So I don't think Don Sweeney earned any friendship from Dean Lombardi on that one.
No, and the original plan, I mean, according to some people that I've talked to, is that the Bruins wanted to flip Jones at the draft and get that 9th overall pick, but with the defenseman off the board there, it didn't make a lot of sense for them. They held off where they were. So that always seemed to be the link there, is that San Jose needed a goaltender. The Boston Bruins had Martin Jones. The LA Kings would not send Jones to the Sharks straight up. So this is Sweeney's way of sort of working a three-way deal, and we don't see those anymore. I'd like to see more of them personally.
Yeah, I mean, you
got to match up salaries now. It's harder.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with that because and honestly, I don't think Dean Lombardi should have a problem with it in the sense that Sweeney got overpaid for Martin Jones.
Yes.
I mean, I think that if Sweeney or if Lombardi had been offered a first-round pick and from any other team other than San Jose for Martin Jones, that he probably would have done the deal himself. I mean, they were talking to Calgary, they were talking to a couple other teams regarding Martin Jones, and it ended up not working out, and then they made the deal with Boston. But yeah, I don't have a problem with that. It's like if you have the opportunity to make, unless you broke a promise, unless he said, I'm not going to trade him to one of your division mates, then that would be another thing. Then he'd be lying. But there's no indication that was the case. They just didn't want him. They didn't want to play against Martin Jones 5 games a year and potentially in a playoff situation because they think Martin Jones is a really good goaltender. So.
Backfired.
Yeah, it did. I mean, but that's what happens. Sportsnet's interviewing Scott Harrington right now.
When would Scott Harrington get a Sportsnet interview if it wasn't sort of,
Well, because Sportsnet owns the Leafs. They're just promoting their own brand and their own product. Even if the Leafs are a 30th place team, they're still going to get probably the most ratings of. Although maybe next year they won't because Connor McDavid in Edmonton will probably be the centerpiece of the Sportsnet and Hockey Night in Canada's coverage.
You think?
That's just a guess, right?
Yeah,
it's going to be every late game.
I'm going out on a limb there, Russ.
I mean, this Leafs team is going to be bad.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
Yeah, I mean, this is gonna be real. This is gonna be real bad. Just looking at this now.
And I don't think they're done. I don't know if they're gonna trade Phaneuf, but they might trade Lupul. They might trade Bozak.
How come they don't? Sorry to interrupt. How come they don't talk about trading JVR?
Because he's 26 years old and his contract is really inexpensive. I mean, he's only making. Yeah, $4.25 million. Okay, if they said we're going to trade JVR, there is the deal that they better get back like a top 5 draft pick or like a can't miss prospect. I mean, that's the traditional top prospect, young top roster player and a first-round pick because he's under control for 3 or 4 more years at $4.25 million. I mean, that contract. I mean, teams that are it's 3 years. Teams that are contenders can fit that deal easily under their cap. So that's why they're not moving him. That's an asset that they could hold on to if they want to trade him at the deadline or keep because he's only 26 years old and he'll be young enough when they're ready to contend in 3 or 4 years. He'll be still young enough to be part of that group, and I think he's a good personality. He's got a good work ethic. He's a talented player. He is, as opposed to guys like Kessel who are sort of aloof. He's been more of a out front guy. I don't know if he wants to be a leader, but he's not exactly antisocial. So I think he's a guy that they won't have a problem building around, whereas Kessel, I think they would have had a problem building around.
Yeah.
So, but I think more changes are to come. They got Kadri as a restricted free agent. He's supposedly wants a long-term deal. They're not going to give him a long-term deal. They have Lupul. They have Bozak. So I mean, this is going to be pretty interesting. I don't know if it's going to be as bad as Buffalo for the next couple of years, but it could be bad.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be bad and hard to watch. It will be.
Yeah, but what is the difference, Russ? This team has been a quivering mass and a crumbling foundation for years. This is fine. They're finally doing what if you're gonna suck the worst. Be the worst
I agree with that.
Yeah, the Rangers report is reporting that Glenn Sather will name Jeff Gorton GM today, but Sather will remain team president. So, big move for the Rangers. I mean, sort of what they've been doing, many would say, the past year or so.
Here you go.
Guys, for a second, we're going to break for a second. I think what we're going to have to do is we're having some issues. Some of our Google stuff is going down, and what I need to do is we're all gonna log out. I'm gonna send you a new invite to a new show. Okay, we're gonna start this again.
So
So
this is
everybody-
part 1.
Yeah, it's gonna be part 1. Okay, so we're gonna do part 2. So I'll be
Part
right.
2 is The Empire Strikes Back, and then Part 3 is Return of the Jedi.
Right. Exactly.
Ah.
All right.
Revenge of the Sith.
Right
okay.
back. Stop
All right.
the show.